And I'm like, we do glute bridges all the time. We do body weight glute bridges. How could you load that? I did not think of the barbell for a little while.
Of course.
But I was like, it's such a short range of motion. How could you drop deeper? I didn't think of the bench for a couple years. What I thought of is like, what if you were laying on the ground, but you could just sink your hips real deep? It was hollowed out. I'm like, you could use a rounded back pad on the glute ham developer to put your back on, and you could put your feet up on like the reverse hyper. Then I would develop my first prototype. I made it a slanted, huge foot plate, like a leg press kind of. But it was elevated way off the ground so you could sink your hips really deep. But the shoulders and the feet were kind of equal. We did single leg, we did band, and then eventually we started doing barbell. This was just brand new, no one had seen it. So everyone was like, hooray. It was kind of like the article heard around the world. When I wrote about it, I was like, I can't have people buy this clunky machine that I have at my gym. I called it the Scorchers with a K.
Yeah, Scorcher, yeah.
Like you'd need 2 spotters to use it. We'd have to pick up the barbell from each side. You'd slide under it. It never would have taken off, but that's what we did at my first gym for 2 years. Then I said, I want to write a T-Nation article. I think I'm ready. I'm ready to join the big dogs and write for T-Nation. So I wrote this article called Dispelling the Glute Myth. And that was kind of the article heard around the world because no one had ever seen this exercise. And this was the most popular online fitness magazine or, in the entire world. It was squats versus hip thrusts. I thought hip thrusts would beat squats. Everyone else thought squats would beat hip thrusts. They tied. They completely tied. It was like the lower glute max, middle glute max, and upper glute max all grew the same exact amount with like 9 weeks of progressively heavier squatting and hip thrusting done twice a week on beginners. It's funny, I have a patent on the hip thrust and I have not enforced it.
I was going to say to you, do you have a patent on this?
I could probably be making $2 million a year off of it. And I feel guilty enforcing it. My clients in San Diego are my best friends. My clients in Fort Lauderdale, I'm super close with them. I love seeing them every day and they love me. Why? Because I don't charge. I don't charge for training. So how can you not love me? I haven't charged in 8 years. I've made $0 personal training in 8 years.
Why?
And it's brilliant because how much I can make so much more money online than I can in real life. If I make my gym a business, it's now stressful.
This episode is brought to you by our lovely sponsors, Pawtion, an all-natural single-protein dog food snack company. Go to pawtion.com.au. Muscle Talks 25 as a code to get 25% off your first order. Muscle Talks 10 to get 10% off continued orders. Also, our premium Australian supplement company, but let me tell you, they're with a lot of different type of supplements, but yes, they're protein and pre-workout range, but also plenty more to go and see and find out. Go to primabolics.com.au and use discount code generous one Muscle Talks 15 for 15% off. And I'll tell you a little bit more about our candles that we will be displaying and showing off soon. But let's talk to Brett Contreras, the Glute Guy. How are you, mate?
Doing great.
Like I said, and Chris has been taping this, and don't worry, it's going to be on there. And like I said, actually, just to let you know, Brett, this is where it gets clunky because I don't proofread. So it all gets clunky, unprofessional from this point on. But it's funny, yeah, because let's talk about that. Like, yes, there was 2 posts that I posted that you captured, or you captured our attention. You saw us for that moment, and you get many things that happen. But for us, I'll let you know, not the second one, but when I saw you hit the second one, which was with the lead priest, but the first one, ask Chris, I felt like I copped a punch in the face, right? That was how I felt, right? But I'll tell you why. You were the second person to have a go, unfortunately, at Jeff, and actually it cost me a sponsorship because they defamed him, incorrectly categorized him in something, and I lost my food sponsor because they said he was sponsored by my food sponsor, and he wasn't. And it was just a post that, it's like someone bagging this up here, or any of these, and they're saying Brett Contreras is sponsored by Pawtion. How can you talk about dogs like that? And you're not. You know what I'm trying to say? So some people just follow the influencers, even if it's been defamed. And I said, it's like anyone, they can say anything they want. And that's why I do the disclaimer at the start, because I want to let people know, I don't know what anyone's going to say about you. But what's funny, All right, let's do the intro. We forgot the intro, so let's go with it. It's going to talk about you calling me insecure, and I want to know why I'm an insecure guy, but let's go with it. I laughed my head off. And you know what, Brett, I am an insecure guy at times, but let me go with this. At 19, he had an obsession with the glutes. 30 years later, that enthusiasm has never diminished. He actually had no butt. He thought the butt would win the girls. He reads 2 hours a night, PhD, biomechanics. You're probably going to ask, how do I know you read 2 hours a night? Because I keep listening. Don't knock the hip thrust. You need to have an overall booty development, body development, actually. Injurious exercise, I hope I said that right, may not help you in your longevity or lifting. Loved science, maths teacher for 6 years, told to go follow his passion by his professor, exercise science that is. 2006 opened up his gym, which became full of girls. 2009 he developed the 2009 when the hip thrust was conceived. No one saw such glute development till now. Thinks the stretch position and the shortened position should work together. Please help me welcome how 2 of my reels ended up on his page, and he once called me insecure, the one and only, the Glute Guy, Brett Contreras.
Thank you. So I thought of the hip thrust in 2006. 2009 is when I first publicized it.
Oh, sorry. That's good. Let's clear that up. Sorry.
I was actually watching UFC fights. So Tito Ortiz versus Ken Shamrock. Mm-hmm. It's funny because I've discussed this 100 times over the years in podcasts. When I first launched the hip thrust, it was in a T-Nation article, tnation.com. T stands for testosterone. Mm-hmm. All the big strength coaches were writing for them back in the day, in the late 90s, early 2000s. This was a who's who of strength coaches and personal trainers. All my idols wrote for them. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to write for them one day. And then I'm watching UFC and I'm like, there should be an exercise. It's Tito Ortiz versus Ken Shamrock, their third fight. I don't care who wins, but I just wanted it to be a good fight. Tito just dominates Ken. And I'm like, why doesn't Ken try and buck him off? There should be an exercise to strengthen that motion.
Oh, go on, yes.
So I'm like, we do glute bridges all the time. We do body weight glute bridges. How could you load that? I did not think of the barbell for, for a little while.
Of course.
But I was like, it's such a short range of motion. How could you drop deeper? I didn't think of the bench for a couple years. What I thought of is like, what if you were laying on the ground, but you could just sink your hips real deep? Mm. If it was hollowed out. So I'm like, you could use a rounded back pad on the glute ham developer to put your back on, and you could put your feet up on like the reverse hyper. Mm-hmm. Then I would develop my first prototype. I made it a slanted, huge foot plate, like a leg press kind of. But it was elevated way off the ground, so you could sink your hips really deep. Yeah. But the shoulders and the feet were kind of equal. Mm-hmm. It was like, and then you just drop your hips way down. We did single leg, we did band, and then eventually we started doing barbell. But it wasn't until the barbell didn't come to be until I Googled thick barbell pad. Hampton, back then, Hampton was the only one making them in 2006. And that was a game changer because you can't just put a bar in your lap. It's got to be padded.
Yeah, 100%.
So and it's funny, back then, this was just brand new. No one had seen it. So everyone was like, hooray. It was very, it was kind of like the article heard around the world. When I wrote about it, I was like, I can't have people buy this clunky machine that I have at my gym. I called it the Scorcher. It's with a K.
Yeah, Scorcher, yeah.
You can Google this, and it's hilarious. I'm using it, but it was such a, like you'd need 2 spotters to use it. We'd have to pick up the barbell from each side. You'd slide under it. It never would have taken off. But that's what we did at my first gym for 2 years. Then I said, I want to write a T-Nation article. I think I'm ready. I'm ready to join the big dogs and write for T-Nation. So I wrote this article called Dispelling the Glute Myth. And that was kind of the article heard around the world because no one had ever seen this exercise. And this was the most popular online fitness magazine or, in the entire world.
What year was that?
This was 2009.
Yep.
September of 2009. And I rewrote this article like 4 times. And it's funny because I have like the first rendition and then I decided to get, and this is so, not saying I'm not a cocky guy, but this is so not like me to be, like I came out of the gates swinging. Like I was like, I think I was reading Charles Poliquin. I'm like, I need to be like Poliquin and be rude and cocky. And I was like, so before I wrote the article, I wanted to write an ebook. I wanted to start blogging and getting my name out there. And I'm like, well, how can I make money? I'm going to write an ebook. So I wrote an ebook, and then that's when I started blogging, writing articles. And I did, for my ebook, I learned how to conduct EMG experiments. Right down the street from me was Neuraxin. They were like a mile away from me, not even a mile. They were like half a mile away from me. They're the biggest manufacturer of EMG equipment. They lived right down the street from me, their headquarters were right down the street from where I was living at the time. And they were really nice back then. I was like, hey, can you guys teach me how to use this? And they're like, they taught me for the whole day. And I rented one. Eventually I've bought a couple units over the years. But anyway, so back then we didn't know as much. In fact, we just found out in a study I was involved in 2023 by lead author Daniel Plotkin. And I was wrong. I thought EMG would be predictive of hypertrophy, and it was not.
Wow.
It was squats versus hip thrusts. I thought hip thrusts would beat squats. Everyone else thought squats would beat hip thrusts. They tied. They completely tied. It was like the lower glute max, middle glute max, and upper glute max all grew the same exact amount with like 9 weeks of progressively heavier squatting and hip thrusting done twice a week on beginners. And I owe the lead author, Daniel Plotkin, I owe him a beer because I was wrong. I thought EMG would predict hypertrophy. So back then, 2009, people kind of thought that. It was like EMG was going to predict muscle growth. Well, now we know a lot more. So now we know that there's kind of two independent mechanisms of muscle growth. And they both produce force, but they produce muscle force differently.
Yep.
The first way is through stretching the muscle, just passive force. You can just sit and stretch a muscle, vigorously, and it will grow. Mm-hmm. And even more recent studies show just a very aggressive stretching regimen will grow muscle.
Well, they talk about that with the calves at the moment.
And the muscles aren't being activated. You're just static stretching them. Mm. So pure passive stretch, non-activated mechanisms can grow muscle. And then you can put EMS on a muscle, electric muscle stimulation, it will grow a muscle, and it's not even being stretched, it's just being activated. Mm. So EMG would measure, electromyography would measure the active portion of muscle force, but not the passive portion of the stretch. So that's why it didn't predict hypertrophy. Squats stretch the glutes more, hip thrusts activate the glutes more. They both grow the glutes the same, but that's like so then people can think what they want, but I think it's intellectual lazy to just form your opinion based on like this Jeff guy and Lee Priest. I've trained probably, I've been training since I was 20 years old. I'm 48. 28 years of personal training. I still train probably 50 people in real life.
Yeah.
I'm at the gym every day.
Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed, who is following us on all platforms, but especially here on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, please, if you could do us a big favor, which helps us reach more people, get better, bigger, greater. We've already had some great guests anyway. Everyone's been a treat. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're notified every week a new podcast that is launched. And I just want to say a big thank you. But again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and enjoy watching Muscle Talks podcasts.
It's funny. It's funny because, well, I'm 55, just to let you know. And and like I said, we've been doing this podcast now for about a year and a half, nearly 2 years. And not that it just came left field. Don't ask me how we got here. We got here, right? So, and I love bodybuilding. I've never competed, right? Never competed. But I tell people I competed with life. I competed when I turned 30. I competed when I was 40. I competed when I got married. I competed when my child was born. Like, I like dates. I like to know what I'm working towards. And I go, right, I'm going to say I'm going to come to America. If I know I'm going to America 12 weeks before it, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I start training to look my best on that plane to get to America. Like that's bodybuilding in a sense for me. And also I know progressive overload. And I just grew up, I suppose in the era I grew up, it was predominantly a male dominated environment.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this online world. I didn't even know anything. And like I said, when I discovered a year and a half ago coming on this podcast, it's funny. I think one of our third guests, fourth guest, fifth guests, Jess Beddick, she comes on and we go, she said to me, and the Glute Guy, Brett Contreras. And I went, I just thought it was a mythical character, or I thought that some guy in the 1950s must have written something. So I never really questioned her, who's the Glute Guy, who's Brett Contreras. But she goes, who created the hip thrust? And I went, okay. And then there was a build-up. Let me just say the little build-up to it. So one day I just know from what I've seen, it's been embraced definitely by the females, but maybe it's the fact is that it's embraced by males, but the females are posting it. So they see it as a reward. They see it as a strengthening. They see it, like I said, they're just predominantly putting it online. I don't know. So the funniest is I said to Philippa one time, I just said to her, we called it Zesty because I said, I could see it working, but I don't know if I'm comfortable doing it. And she said to me, if you're not doing it, you're no good in the bedroom. I went, oh my God. I said, Chris, I'm no good in the bedroom. So it and that was it. And then I don't know what happened. And even with Jeff, and if you meet Jeff, you're going to like Jeff. Trust me, he owns Gold's Gym in North Sydney, and you'll get on with him. You actually like his swagger, you like his attitude, and he's very, he's a straight up guy. You're going to like the fact. But I guess, I'm not saying we portrayed in that way, but we did. His post, that hip thrust post, and the food post went viral. But can I just say something to you? Lee's hip thrust post to Jeff got so much hate. Lee didn't. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm one. Because he looks different. It's his look. Not you. You didn't go after his look. You didn't give a fuck about it. I mean, even I saw myself in it. And when you go, look at these insecure. I don't know what you said. He beefed out. But you still went through giving an answer, and you went through with studies. You popped up these 2 sheets. You fucking oath you wanted to have a go, and you should. And that was okay with us. But what I'm saying is, it's funny what people are like out there. It became like more of a targeted personal thing. You didn't do it. We did it. You just happened to see it because it came your way. Same as Lee's. Lee's, everything explodes, whatever Lee does. But when the way you answered Lee's, I think you saw me write a comment, and I wrote how I appreciated the way you articulated that, like how you spoke about it, right? And your love affair with bodybuilding. And I guess that's how we came to be where we are today. But I think it was never about did it work. I mean, that was Jeff's opinion, and that was okay. And yeah, me,
it was just his squats.
Yeah, he did. And
you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, and he was doing Jeff Tate at the time. He was really Andrew Tate. So we called him, like I said, he can listen to this podcast. We love Jeff. He wants to come on again. He actually wants to come on and rectify a few things, not because he has to, because actually he's invested in his gym hip thrust machines, and he's publicly showed them off.
You should have bought mine, the BC Strength. It's the best.
Well, we'll get you and Jeff to talk.
Some of them make such terrible machines.
Oh, I can
I'm
imagine.
like, why don't you run it by me? Run these things, send one to me. I will give you advice. It's crazy because men are so bad at glute stuff.
Yeah.
They make them for like, I mean, I'm 6'4".
Yep.
I know you got to go by centimeters.
No, 6'4" is good. Yep. I like that. I prefer that.
It's like
fucking centimeters I can't work out.
Oh, really? Okay. The same way. 6'4" in centimeters. So I'm 193 centimeters.
Yeah.
And like these machines they fit me perfectly. And I'm very tall. Like, what is my 5 foot tall client going to do with that? Their knees are so extended. It's like they don't even feel in their glutes. They feel all their hamstrings. But anyway, but what Jeff said is what a lot of, and what Lee Priest said is what a lot of bodybuilders think. And I want to explain this because this is the crux of the argument. They can't relate because they don't train women for a living. I train all women.
Yeah, I know.
And I train dozens of women every day, and they don't understand what they want, what women want. So for guys, it's hard for us to understand this because you and I, if we're lifting weights, if like, you know, we like rubbed a lamp and the genie came out and they're like, I'm a hypertrophy genie. I can grant you wishes, but only with muscle hypertrophy. Where do you want your muscle? Do you want it in your traps? We'd be like, yeah. Do you want delts? All 3 heads? Yes. Do you want biceps? Yes. Do you want triceps? Yes. Do you want forearms? Yes. You want pecs? Upper, middle, and lower? Yes. You want lats? You want mid-back? You want
yes.
You want quads? Yes. Hamstrings? Yes. Adductors? Yes. Glutes? Sure. Calves? Yes. We want muscle everywhere. And a lot of women they can train hard. They don't have strength coaches.
Yep.
Most of them. Like, I'm a strength coach.
Yeah, you are.
I can get women very, very strong. And my San Diego girls, they're all natural. None of them take stuff.
Nice.
And I have girls who do, like 3 different girls who have done 75-pound chin-ups.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? 30, 33, 30, yeah, like 30, 35 would be 77. Yeah, like 34 kg chin-ups.
Yep.
They can do 5 reps with 45 pounds.
Wow.
One did 6 reps. So like they're not just strong at lower body. I've had couple girls squat over 405. One girl squat 405, but like 5 squat over 315. I've had several girls deadlift 405, a bunch around that, like 385-ish. The average hip thrust strength in my gym is insane. At 100, like this is a 25 girls, the average body weight is 140 pounds, and the average hip thrust strength is 550 pounds. That's 4 times body weight.
Yeah.
Hip thrust all the time. We hip thrust 3 times a week, and we do barbell, we do bar plus band, we do pause reps at the top. So you get really strong at the lockout training with me. But you talk about squats. I have the strongest squatters. I've got the strongest deadlifters. So I don't like when people act like, oh, Brett just gives people hip thrusts and bands. And
no. Looking at your page, you don't. But yeah,
I get my girls very strong. But here's the deal. If you said to women, what do you want? I'm going to pack muscle on your body. You want muscle on your traps? No. Forearms? No. You want some on your thighs and tries? Yeah, I'll take a little. You want some on your chest? No. Like delts a little bit. Yeah. Quads a little bit. Hamstrings a little bit. Glutes, yes, all of it. Give me a lot of glutes. And so they want glutes so much more. Like, think about dudes want pecs. They want glutes more than all the muscles added together. There's a lot of women out there who they're happy with the way their bodies look. They just want glutes. And they don't want glutes with giant legs. They want glutes without getting giant legs. So they're not afraid to do some squats and lunges. But if all you did was grow your glutes through squats, some girls like me, I've never had big legs my whole life. And I've squatted, I squatted today, ass to grass, Smith machine squats. Never been that strong, but I got 315 for 10.
Wow.
I've deadlifted way more, but even with my deadlift, I've deadlifted 605 for 5. I've never had muscular hamstrings or quads. I've got adductors. My glutes were never that big, but they're way bigger than when they started. But I want quads. I want hamstrings. So a guy like Jeff, a guy like Lee Priest, they look at it, they're like, they want quads. They want adductors. They want hamstrings. And then their glutes just come along for the ride. So yes, you can develop glutes doing all squats, lunges, leg press, stiff leg deadlifts, etc. But if that's all you do, you tend to develop, a lot of women, depends on genetics, because there's some women with like lankier, taller women with skinnier legs, they just look better and better. But some women don't like the way they look if their legs start getting too big. I hear women be like, I used to do all squats and lunges, and my quads were so big, and my glutes weren't as big as when I started doing hip thrusts and then throwing in some kickbacks and abduction work. And so men cannot relate, but they give very bad advice to women. Think about when you train glutes 3 times a week, and these girls are doing all the lifts, and they know what builds mostly glute versus, because in that Plotkin study I told you about, they both grew the glutes equally, squats versus hip thrusts, but squats build twice as much quad and 2.5 times more adductor. I want the adductor and quad growth. So they'll do some squats, but they'll do a lot more hip thrusts.
Yeah.
And so anyway, if more men try to understand what women's goals were, and then a lot of women will be like, what a stupid goal. Why wouldn't you want legs? But it just depends on our own. We're the owners of our physiques. We have the right to train it however we want. And
I found, I just want to make sure with Chris, does the sound good? He doesn't have an earpiece. Everything sounds good. I want to make sure the sound is right. I'll let you know, I have introduced the hip thrust. Why? I'll just say, I've introduced it. You're going to say that sounds so funny. Look, I did grow up in the era, and this is what I wanted to ask you. Let me just, all right, I'll go with this, then I'll backtrack. So I'm greedy now. I want it all. Now I'm greedy. Like, fuck that. Are you telling me I'm lacking a body part? Like, I do know, like you, but you see, you knew it. I mean, you knew it that the girls seemed to like the jocks, the NFL players, and they used to like them training. And you cracked the case back then. You said, "Oh, look at this! They're all fucking going to check out these guys' butts." And you knew you didn't have a butt, and you were attracted to women, and you wanted to, obviously somehow create an attraction towards you. And you realized the fascination of this butt. But myself as well, and what I saw, I just want to know, when did the butt become a priority? Because at one stage, I'm Greek. We got Greek girls with big butts. And, South Americans. But once upon a time, girls didn't want big butts. Remember? Even guys, like, remember the saggy rappers pants, the skater pants? Like your whole Calvin Kleins were showing off. But now skinny jeans are in, girls, they're designing jeans to lift butt. What I'm asking is, when did you, and I don't know if it's the Kim Kardashian effect.
Yes.
Is it the Kim Kardashian effect? So what happened when, this is the thing, because you aligned perfectly for some reason, it was like the planets aligning, but there's you that's seeing this, and then there's Kim Kardashian. Is that when it all changed?
My God, you nailed it. So, and not just Kardashian, J-Lo came before her.
Yeah, J-Lo as well, man. Yeah.
So it was like, you're right. In the 90s, even the 2000s, like girls wanted to look like Victoria's Secret models and the Sports Illustrated swimsuit models.
Yeah.
That was the look. Very slender, very lean.
Yep.
They didn't want a ton of muscle and big old butts.
No. It was frowned upon at once upon a time. Yeah.
Emily Webb's Buns of Steel, Jane Fonda's, but like they would do glutes, but like, not like today. Not
today.
What happened was I came around and I'm like, see, I grew up reading bodybuilding mags.
Yep.
From the early 90s onwards, I was reading every bodybuilding magazine: Muscular Development, Flex, Iron Man, Muscle and Fitness.
Why? Why? Can I ask why?
Muscle Mag Internet, whatever. Because I wanted to get, like you mentioned, I was 16 years old like I was a virgin until I was 20. I was so insecure about my body.
Hey, listen, man. Do you know, most people back then, even myself, things have changed today, but back then, we actually, there was a sense of, we'll just talk about that subject because it's the podcast. We want to talk about many things. We segue and we don't want to let it go. But even when you spoke about being a virgin, I think me too, I bloomed very late. But not to say that I haven't made up for it now, but what I'm trying to say is we respected, no one wanted to give it away so easily anyway. And to get a girl to give it away, it was quite a task. It wasn't so easy. Like it's like today, chivalry's gone. Even men probably don't have a skill, correct me if I'm wrong, to even walk up to a bar and say to a girl, I love your dress, or finding a pickup line. Because I know we're segueing up, but this is what I love about the podcast. People say to me, what was it like back then, like to go talk to a girl? Because we spoke about virgin, talk to a girl. And I used to say, we already knew failure. We were working out what it was going to be like walking back with your head down and your mate saying you're a dickhead. Now, the thing was...
Rejection. I wouldn't even go. I was like, why would a girl like me? I'm so skinny.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm saying to you. So, all right. So let's go with that.
My friends had muscles. Like they were all the jocks. All my best friends were the football players, the basketball players, the baseball players. So I was like, why would they like me?
Yeah, and go on.
And I remember my friend's older brother got a bench press, and they all sat down. We went after school, and they'd be able to bench the bar 10 reps. And I got down and it pinned me. And they're like, oh, try this. And they're like, oh my God, you're just so weak. And I thought something was wrong with my body. I thought something was wrong with my muscles. Like,
that would have pissed you off. That would have developed a fire.
I was insecure. I was so weak and so skinny. And I started, so then I was like, and then I remember I was at a party, and this guy, he was like the biggest football player in our school and the best wrestler. And I'm at a party, and he goes, Contreras, I don't like your voice. You're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to talk. If I hear you talking for the rest of the night, I'm going to hit you in the face. And so I'm like, I didn't talk. I didn't talk for like 2.5 hours. And then someone's like, Brett. And I'm like, I don't want to talk.
I'm so angry. Go on.
They're like, Brett, why are you ignoring me? And I'm like, and then I go, I can't talk. He happened to come right around the corner and heard me. And he just goes, boom. And it hurt so bad. Like, I was like, oh, that's hurt. He hit me right in the jaw. And I was just thinking, this is so unfair. He's bigger than me and he bullies me. Like, I would never bully anyone. So then funny, my twin brother said this once.
Exact twin? Are you exactly looking like?
Identical twin, yeah.
Identical Brett Contreras and identical Contreras.
And he goes, you hated bullies so bad, you grew up to bully the bullies, and you're no better. I would never start a fight, but I just wouldn't back down.
Have you ever? We had a guy in Australia called Chopper Reed. I don't know if you heard of Chopper Reed. He was kind of like a bit of a hit man bodyguard type, and they used to say to him, "How do you feel about?" He never admitted to killing anyone. He never admitted to anything, but they said, anyone I harmed was just a bad guy. What's wrong with that?
I think that's why Dexter was so popular. Yeah. Relate to like wanting a vigilante out there who gets rid of bad people. But I hated being bullied, and I wanted girls to like me. So I started lifting weights at age 15.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, how can I learn? I want to learn everything. So the muscle magazines was the only way you could learn back then, because we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
You and I grew up without the internet.
No internet, man. How good was that?
I know.
It's so good.
And then when the internet came around, that's when I started reading T Nation. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I started reading, when T Nation came around, I got to read from the top strength coaches in the world who trained athletes. Mm. And that's when I'm like, wow, they're training glutes 3 times a week. They're doing, and this Ian King actually comes from Australia. He kind of paved the way. He said every workout should have a knee dominant movement. That's a squat, lunge, step up, split squat, leg press. It should have a hip dominant movement. That's your deadlift variations, your good morning variations, stiff leg, Romanian. But then you should have 2 upper body presses, 1 vertical, 1 horizontal, 2 upper body pulls, 1 vertical, 1 horizontal. And then you can have your linear core exercise and your lateral or rotary core exercise. And that's the way we all did it. And then I came up and said, no, you also need a thrust in there. You need a bent leg hip extension. But I would have never thought of it if it weren't for these strength coaches, because they were also doing glute activation. And I'm like, all the popular exercises are sagittal plane. You're doing squats, deadlifts, lunges. Mm-hmm. But then we do glute activation in the basically like from an anteroposterior vector. We do glute bridges. We do like quadruped kickbacks and stuff where you're working where you're squeezing the end range, working the muscle at short muscle length, and we're doing lateral stuff, lateral band walks, and rotary stuff, and taking sideline clamshells and stuff. And they're taking these big football players and they're having them do this wimpy glute stuff, and the guys are cramping up and they're, holy crap, I've never felt my glutes, and this is just activation, but it was always in the warm-up. It was low load glute activation to wake the glutes up. But all the strength coaches, that started, the strength coaches paved the way for me. It was Martin Rooney, it was Mike Boyle, it was Eric Cressy and Mike Robertson, Mark Verstegen. They were all, and even like this Stu McGill, who was a spinal biomechanist, he was talking about it, gluteomnesia, which I don't agree with, but it was, this is where we were back in the early 2000s. And especially this, Eric Cressy and Mike Robertson, I'd read their articles and I would try it. And also kind of Louis Simmons with Westside, he was doing, think about it, they do squats and deadlifts and good mornings, but then that was their maximum effort work, was always squat, deadlift, or good morning. And then they do reverse hypers, 45-degree hypers, sled pushes, and cable pull-throughs, which cable pull-through is just like an unstable hip thrust kind of. Yeah. And that they do all that stuff for their glute work. So they were doing this too. So I'm paying attention. I'm reading everything. I'm reading the bodybuilders. I'm reading the strength coaches. I'm reading what powerlifters are doing. And that's what led me, because I remember doing a bodyweight glute bridge. I'm like, man, I really like the way this feels. It just sucks I could do 100. Back then I thought you had to lift really heavy, like you had to do like a set of 6 or 10 for maximum muscle growth. Now we know that you can still grow muscle with high reps, but you got to keep it close to failure. But anyway, they paved the way for me, because glute activation was glute activation was lateral, rotary, and anteroposterior, and then axial loading was how you built your glutes. And I'm like, no, you build your glutes with all of them. Glutes are triplanar. So I start thinking. And people have a hard time thinking I came up with the hip thrust. Now it was 2006, so it's 19 years later. Well, it'll be 19 years later in like 7 months, in 7 more months. But it's 18 years later, and people think I never came up with it. They think it's been around forever, and they cannot fathom that the hip thrust was not around. There was no barbell thrusting. There was not even single leg hip thrust off a bench where you just put your arms like this and do single leg hip thrust, and no barbell glute bridges. But the industry really, a lot of the bloggers back in the day when blogging was popular, they were coaches blogging, and we started coming up with variations. 2009 to like 2013 was kind of a magical time, 2015 even, for hip thrust, because there were so many coaches coming up with new variations. This guy, Ben Bruno, was always coming up with variations. BJ Gaddour, he wrote for Men's Health. And we were just, use the Smith machine. You can use this. You could do single. You can put chains over. You can do all these. And there's a lot of garage gym stuff too, because the Teen Nation crowd was a lot of garage gym stuff. And then, but we always knew to get popular, you need machines. Because who the hell wants to load a bunch of plates on the floor? You already do that with deadlifts. It sucks. you need to have a convenient way to hip thrust.
And there's a balancing act to get under there with a barbell sometimes. That's just a balancing act. You know?
So I make bigger plates that are big.
Yeah.
So you roll it over your legs.
Yeah,
with the regular bar, it's terrible.
Yeah. And like you said, and the sponge as well, that you need something that's going to not take out your bloody groin area, but also take out your front hips there. You know, go on.
So that's when Booty Builders started making the first selectorized with a weight stack. And then, so Booty Builder, then like Nautilus Glute Drive came out, the first plate loaded model. And I think Booty Builder made a plate loaded model, then Glute Builder and BC Strength, Hammer Strength made an awesome unit. And then I just was like, Hammer Strength almost got it perfect. I'm going to make Hammer Strength's model, but they need a bigger foot plate. See, they don't train women like I do all day long. I know hip thrust better than any person in the world for obvious reasons. I invented it, but I also I've coached more reps than anyone in the entire planet. And it needs a bigger foot plate and a longer plate peg. Like you could only put 4 plates on the Hammer Strength. So I just made a bigger plate peg, a bigger foot plate, and that's now the rise of the machines. So now, like you said, this Jeff from Sydney is he's buying them. Every gym needs to have these because women might comprise 50% of your membership, or if it's 30%, you need to care about what the women want. Think about it.
But don't you think we're foolishly believing that the gym can't survive on us guys? Why? Because how can I explain it? It was 100% guys, so they got what they got. But now it's still 100% guys. But now it's like when it's 100% of guys being in there and guys investing in it. But now it's 50-50 the gym, and women have come along and they're in there and they're accepted. I mean, in a business transaction, that's what you want. We're not stupid here. We need to break our KPIs. We need to be able to create an income, and we need to know where that income's coming from. And at the end of the day, guys, which we are becoming, but guys aren't as girls will turn an industry into maybe a fashion statement, and then we start to dress better, we try to look better, and everything is being elevated. So I guess women come along and elevated the area a little bit more for us, where if we were guys, we would just...
guys who had the old school Metroflex with Ronnie Coleman was dusty, dirty plates. And
same where we are. That's Metroflex. We got one in Sydney. But it's
did you give yourself a tetanus shot after every workout?
It was funny because I just joined that gym recently, and I was saying to the guy, does it get cold in here in winter? Because I'm going, this place probably freezes over. But
real quick.
Yes, please. No, I want to hear it. We've got plenty of time. Go for it.
So now you have Booty Builder and Glute Builder. Yeah. Glute Builder and Booty Builder making and a lot of so you go to these expos like the, URSA convention, these conventions where the equipment manufacturers go, and the glute stuff is the most, they're getting all the attention.
I know.
Booty Builder and Glute Builder are getting all the attention. And then you see Matrix paying attention to this, and Nautilus and Cybex, and they're all like, oh, they're getting all this attention and we're spending all this money on our booth. Now they're all making glute equipment. This is on the rise. It's funny. I have a patent on the hip thrust, and I have not enforced it. I
was going to say to you, do you have a patent on this?
I could probably be making $2 million a year off of it, and I feel guilty enforcing it. Yeah, what? I have a patent. You can Google it. Brett Contreras patent. It comes up.
Listen. Firstly, you've got a patent on it, and
g'day. I'm Jamie from Pawtion, and I'm here to talk to you about our whole sardines. They're full of omega-3s, and so they're fantastic for the fur and hair on your dog, especially the non-shedders like this one. This is Tipsy, Steve's dog, and she loves them. So head over to pawtion.com.au and use your code MuscleTalks25 for 25% off your first order, or MuscleTalks10 for 10% off every order after that. Cheers.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think, Brett, that... do you think what you did because it hasn't been done for a long time, right? Because you can imagine when someone introduced the bench press, right? You can imagine, right? Like the bench press.
I know the whole history of that, by the way.
So but
it's
we
very
can
similar.
Yeah,
to the
very
hip
similar. But do you think the reason people are trying to say that you didn't create the hip thrust, hear me out first, is this? Do you think everyone's trying to do a variation to claim fame, but no one can now? So the kickbacks, the cable thing, the hanging upside down and doing that. And no, one hand on the ground and one leg up in the air and doing that. Do you think everyone, because yours was not, it wasn't about you being in the right place at the right time. You inherently had an obsession through, let's call it a trauma, that you were fucked off. One, the guy punching you in the face. Two, I want to punch that guy back in the face. And three, what's happening with the girls? I need to get some girls. So there was a element of strength. There's an element of reward. And because of exercise science that you love and had a love affair with, and we're going to talk about you being a teacher, that it was going to happen because of your obsession. And I don't think anyone understands that obsession is what creates a revolution or creates something that changes. And I think because you did that, everyone wants to be this, we all want to be the one. And social media makes us feel like we're the one because just by likes and followers, you think you've made it. And everyone thinks, oh my God, you got 400,000 followers, you must be something. But whatever that is and however you built it. But behind the scenes, it was innate. You were invested in exercise science. You studied at university. You actually tried to not do personal training because you thought there was no money in it. So you became a high school teacher, right? And here you are being a high school teacher, a maths teacher for 6 years until someone says, Jeff, fucking get over yourself. You're fucking exercise science. You got to go out there and do something, follow your passion. So you were kind of forced again. You were pulling away. It's like, you know, when they say the mafia, they say, just when I was out, they pulled me back in. And for you, you had to go back in and you created something which we haven't seen for decades. We haven't seen anything change inside the gym. And now everyone's trying to find a variation to be the creator, but yours wasn't about girls and their butts. Yours was about your butt, but you also looked at it as strength coach, performance enhancing in relation to sprinting, powerlifting, and it was predominantly males. And you weren't looking for, which allowed you to have the fame with the women, but you weren't looking for that fame. You were looking for result-driven, and you didn't know you'd have to pay it to, like whatever was going on, it was just this fucking steamroll effect that it was out of your control. Like you had to just go with it, but it was innate in you to problem solve, and you couldn't get over yourself by problem solving.
So that was a different world back, and I miss this time. I miss you talked about chivalry, but just having like common courtesy in the industry.
Yeah.
Like I will sometimes engage in an argument with some like 20-year-old that's never trained anyone in their entire life, and they have zero respect for me.
Yeah.
Like it's such a different world when I came up. Yeah. And I love this time, and I feel so blessed that I could come up at this time where if you wanted to be big in strength and conditioning, you had to write for Men's Health. You had to speak for Perform Better and NSCA. You had to have a popular blog. And the only way you were ever going to speak and get vouched for is if you went to these seminars and went to these conferences and met the people and shook their hand and looked them in the eye and had a conversation with them. Men's Health wasn't going to post you if they're like, Brett Contreras, no acronyms after it. You had to have a master's degree. Better yet, a PhD, but you had to own a gym, because what sounds better? Brett Contreras says this, you need to have credentials. They don't want to quote Brett Contreras, strong bro, or do they want to say Joe Dowdell, owner of Peak Performance in New York City, or, you know, Eric Cressy, master's degree and owner of Cressy Performance and strength coach of this sports team. Like, you had to earn your respect. You had to meet the right people, shake the right hands. And if you were ever caught, so we all credit each other. So like, I'd write an article, I'd name drop 3 people. We were always referencing each other, talking about each other. You would never try and steal someone's stuff. You would be ostracized.
Yeah.
So when I meant to the hip thrust, people started calling it the CHT, the Contreras hip thrust. I said, I even made a blog post. Don't call it the Contreras hip thrust. Everyone knows where this came from. I don't want it named after me. This is bigger than me. I want this to be so common that it's like a leg press or a lat pull down machine. Every gym has that. And now it's kind of getting to that. In the next 10 years, I think it will get to that. But you mentioned something earlier. It was the strength coach, my strength coaching background, because the bodybuilders were like, you can't train legs more than once a week. You tear it down and you got to wait the whole week to build it back up. And it's like, no, we're doing that in the athletic training world. We're training legs 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Doing it. We're recovering.
Yeah.
And these women, you know why they can recover from it? Because number one, they're not doing all the upper body work. They're specializing in glute work. So it'd be really hard to recover if you're training 6-7 days a week, never having an off day, also doing 20 sets of chest, 20 sets of lats, 20 sets of arms and shoulders and everything else. But they're not doing all the sets of quads. They're not necessarily doing all the leg extensions and leg curls and seated hip adduction. They're doing a mix of vectors. So the axial work, the vertical hip extension exercises are the hardest on your body. Yes, do your squats, your lunges, your RDLs, your good mornings, your step ups, your split squats, but don't do so much of those because they beat the hell out of you if you're doing progressive overload. You know, I have my client Joa can do 100-pound dumbbells in each hand doing walking lunges, and she weighs 125. She weighs 125 and can do walking lunges with 225. A barbell on her back. She's so strong, but these beat you up. I remember when we'd cheer each other on for sumo deadlifts, touch and go, bounce them up. And every girl would be like, come on. We'd have these big, let's do it. Come on. Keep going. And you'd crush. I had a girl do 315 for 19 reps, I think it was. And then, cool, she's sore for 10 days. She has shitty workouts for 2 straight weeks. So we realized we can't quite go all out on those. We have to kind of be a little reserved with the vertical lifts, but on hip thrusts don't crush you. Cable kickbacks don't kill you. 45-degree hypers don't kill you. The abduction work doesn't kill you. So the abduction works the upper glutes. Men don't care about upper glutes. Women do. Throw in the abduction. So to answer what you asked a really cool question earlier. So I'm coming out there saying, don't listen to these bros. Train the glutes 3 times a week. Hit them from all vectors. It wasn't just the hip thrust. It was do this whole new category, hip thrust, glute bridges, single leg hip thrust, but also do your squats, do your lunges, but use the rule of thirds. A third of your exercise selection should be vertical in nature, a third horizontal in nature, and a third lateral or rotary. And then blend it together like this every day. Pick a squat lunge, pick a thrust bridge, pick a hinge pull, pick an abduction, either frontal plane or transverse plane, and do 3 sets of each, and then do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 sets each day, 36 total sets a week for your glutes. And that's evolved over time, but that was the template. And I was the only one saying this.
Yeah.
I was the only glute guy for 10 years. It was great. I had 0 competition. No one dared to copy my niche. They would have been ostracized. You trying to be everyone just respected that. No one. And so, and all the top writers, everyone was just like, oh, you have a question about glutes, follow Brett Contreras. And then but we were all very respectful. I would pay homage to these people. They'd pay homage to me. And then the world changed and TikTok algorithms, and then Instagram followed suit and YouTube followed suit. And so now it's a copycat game.
It is.
So you have, if I come out with something, you'll have some 25-year-old put a different spin on it, film it better, do something better, because it's the younger world's game right now.
Yeah.
And they'll get millions of views on it, likes on it. No one credits anyone. No one puts in the because if you tag me in the caption, it'll get less views. You know what I mean? So no one credits anyone. I remember my social media person that I hired, Parisa. It's so funny because I'm like, I love her to death. She's the kindest person, but I'm like, you're a professional copycat. And she's like, what? I go, you're a professional copycat. You wake up in the morning, you flip through, you see what you want to copy, and then you redo it. And she's like, everyone does this, Brett. And it's so funny.
And that's what's funny. Yeah, that's what's funny. Sorry, I want to just, it's because I've wrote that down too. I just knew that the only reason they were talking about Jeff, not just you, it reached you. Of course it would reach you, but everyone was talking about Jeff. It's only because he was tracking in their For You pages. He was just popping up in their For Yous, and there were 200,000 views. And they thought, but wait a minute, 250,000 views on a podcast that only has 1,500 followers? Hey, mate, I've got 1.5 million. I've got 2 million. I'm going to double down on this, guys. I'm going to smash them up. And so me and Chris realized, this is how the influencer's working. They're just compounding on us. And then I realized, okay, let's double down on it. Let's keep going. Let's see what we can do here. But the thing is, and that's when I realized the charlatans in town. That's when I realized everyone's asleep at the wheel. That's when I realized you can have followers, but they're all dormant. Like, what's really important is impressions, is analytics, is looking what's happening individually with all your posts, not so much just your followers, which your followers is very important, but the engagement of them as well. So like I said to you, I've come to realize, like you did, and like you're saying, is this younger people, the disrespect, but the amount of charlatans, but especially when I hear this one, when I hear life coach, I feel like saying, I just want to ask you a question. Have you got a mortgage? Have you brought any children into the world? Have you, what was it like? Have you been in business, lost money? Has this happened? Has that? Like, when are you at 22 a life coach, or a life coach at 25, or you claim that you're going to turn people's lives around? But the other thing is that I found, which was even more surprising, is people talking about life coach when they're on antidepressants. And I'm thinking, hang on, isn't the first thing you want to learn is dealing with life without needing to nullify it down with antidepressants? So it's just a crazy world out there.
Well, here's my take on that. I understand it now. I had this epiphany a couple months ago. I'm like, everyone's talking about Trump and, is he going to help? Is he going to hurt the world? And some people jumping for joy, some people scared to death. And I'm like, it doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter. All these things, you can go from the 70s and look at cost of living. It goes up at this slope, and our income goes up at this slope.
100%.
So there's a bigger gap. And so I try to tell people, man, I tell my clients this all the time. I'm like, you didn't grow up in the 90s. My friend was like, I want to go to San Diego, but I missed the window you guys left without me. And I go, Matt, just bum some money at the gas station and drive here. He had a Honda Civic. He bummed $10 at the gas station because people were more generous because money went further back then. He got $10. Gas was 91 cents a gallon. He got 11 gallons of gas and got 35 miles per gallon on his Honda Civic and drove to San Diego and partied with us. You could get a pizza for $5. You could you could go to the movies for $5, and some movies had like $1.50 night specials and stuff. And now things are so much more expensive. So the like Miami, well, I have a gym in Fort Lauderdale, which is right next to Miami, and San Diego, two of the most expensive cities. San Diego, it's $3,400 a month for a 1-bedroom, nothing special. It's so things are so expensive now. Cost of living is through the roof. But the dream is what if you can crush it on social media? You don't have to have a boss. Yeah, you don't have to work in a cubicle. You don't have to have your own hours. How nice is it to be your own boss, make your own hours, not answer to anyone, and make the big bucks being an influencer?
But the thing is,
so you're right. They're trying so hard, but they don't have the expertise. They're not practitioners.
But the thing is,
world, it's everyone being a phony, talking about things in which they have no expertise. But I get it, because they want so badly to live the dream like I have. I was able to buy houses for my family.
Yeah, but the thing is but I'll tell you why it's different for you and different for them. And I'll tell you why. Firstly, Chris, the cinematographer, he's 24. I said to Chris, and you see this podcast, right? I'll just let you know, I went to bed at 2:30 in the morning because I had 2 guests on. You're one of them today. And I handwrite your scripts. I don't know any of you, but all I do know is I've got to handwrite the script. Firstly, it's booking you in, getting you a time. So it's all diarising. And I said to Chris, this online world, if you don't run fundamental business ideas, so fundamental is you've got a gym, you've invested in something, you pay rent, you created a routine, you got clients. This online world doesn't pay if you don't understand fundamental business. Fundamental business is there's a cost of time, a cost of effort. Actually, the salad you sell to try to sell to your clients in the lunch hour, firstly took time in the kitchen, an employee, knives to be sharp, so much process to be able to put a salad in front of you in a plate for people to say, can I have a small or a large or a medium size in whatever takeaway? So what I said to Chris is, we can be successful online as long as we treat it like a fundamental business, because it's got to be fundamental at the end of the day. So there's no overnight success. It's an overnight success, I think, when you get there, you think everyone thinks it's an overnight success. But what I found was it still creates effort. Me and Chris meet on a certain day. We know every single post, which day, what time, how many. We already know what 7 days is. Now we're trying to double down what we can do with what the template is. So I think no one understands that you're going to get caught out eventually. And eventually there's like I said to you, for you to create what you created in relation to the hip thrust, that wasn't done to influence people. That wasn't done for you to become an influencer. You just became one because you created something. So that's what I'm saying to you.
The passion.
It's a passion.
And the drive. But okay, I want to pivot and get back to the Kim Kardashian.
Yes, that's why I want to go to Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, so you said, when did glutes become so big?
Yeah.
It was J-Lo. It was like, kind of like Shakira.
Yeah,
then there was J-Lo. J-Lo comes out and everyone wants this big old booty like J-Lo. And J-Lo was huge. And then the Kardashians. And it was like, man.
Even, yeah.
Shakira
was hot. Shakira's hot.
And she's my exact age. She's 48.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah, for decades.
Yeah.
So everyone wants this butt. And then, wait, there are new methods out. The old methods were to do what the bodybuilders said and train legs 1 day a week and just do squats and stiff leg deadlifts and leg press and leg extensions, leg curls. You isolate the quads and hammies, but you don't isolate the glutes. That was how bodybuilders trained. They wanted big legs. Glutes just came along for the ride. And now here's this guy saying, no. Don't listen. Who decided to look at the human body and go, let's break the upper body into 4 days, 5 days, and let's just do all lower body in 1 day?
Impossible.
A woman might look at that and go, let's train the upper body all in 1 day, and let's break the lower body into different days. Or, let's train. When the man wants to bring up a body part, he starts training. He wants his arms to get bigger. Say his arms are a weak point. Well, you start training arms 3 times a week, and you do a ton of isolation work. And the girls are going, I want my glutes to come up. I'm going to do a ton of isolation work from it. I'm going to train them 3 times a week. So you got this guy going, hey, there's new methods. Here's this new exercise. You could get really strong at it. You can do 400 or 500 pounds over time. You just got to keep at it and use progressive overload. It's a very easy exercise to learn. And these girls are now going, holy crap, there's like, what I was able to do is like, now there's a whole system of training the glutes. Mm-hmm. And it's so different than what was popular at the time. And it's new, it's fun, it's exciting. So that was the confluence, exactly what you said. It was the confluence of now people no longer just want to look like the Victoria's Secret models and the swimsuit, the Sports Illustrated swimsuit models. They don't just want that stick figure look. They want curves and they want booty. And guess what? You can get booty by getting a BBL.
Yeah. How do you feel about that bit? What about that?
I'll answer that in a second. But before that, BBLs weren't popular 15 years ago. You could build it. If you train hard enough, you can get one on your own. You can build curves. And that was the confluence of the popularization of these celebrities and people wanting to look like them and people getting sick of, to keep the Victoria's Secret type body, you have to eat 1,200 calories a day. It's not sustainable. You're hungry. Yeah. You have to be active and starve yourself. And, and so they're going, I want to eat more. I'm going to lift weights, and a lot of it's going to go to my booty, and I'm going to be, like thick, fit. And a lot of my girls in Fort Lauderdale, they're like, Brett, I lost 6 pounds. I look terrible. And I'm come from an earlier age. I'm like, you look great. What's wrong? Oh my God, I look terrible. I lost my butt. And I'm like, your butt's still huge. But that's how they think here. It's hilarious.
Wow. And I've heard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the glute the biggest muscle on the body? Is that true? I've heard that. Is that true? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, when you and someone said, was it you? I don't know who said it. Was it you? Why wouldn't you want to train the biggest muscle on your body? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what?
Well, the pros would say, well, you do train it with squats, but I would say, why wouldn't you want to isolate it?
That's also saying doing dumbbell press hits your triceps. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say? Like, they do hit your triceps.
It does, but you also isolate it.
No, but you isolate your triceps. That's what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Pros will isolate every muscle except the glutes. Think about it.
I know. Don't worry. I know, man. I'm a late bloomer. I'm a fucking late bloomer, man. I told you. I went go on.
But it makes coming up with content is hard. So when there's someone who makes one of these posts, it's like, oh, I'm gonna have a field day with this, and my people are gonna like it. So I don't get mad anymore. I used to be like, why is this guy saying this? But it's the way of the world now, and you got a lot of people talking about things they should, or maybe just making bold claims. Like you said, Jeff came out and was like trying to be Andrew Tate. Yeah. I told you when I first came out and with my first article, I look back and I'm like, why was I so cocky? Why was it? I would think the coaches would have hated me back then. I wrote like, the exercises I'm going to teach you are so far ahead of these other exercises. They don't know the glutes. They think they know the glutes. They don't know what they're talking about. And that's not like me. But I wanted to come out of the gate swinging and make a name for myself. And that's what they're all trying to do. And so I understand it, but I just wish they had more experience. And then they tried to understand what women want more, because they want, when women lean out, when they get lean, they kind of like the way most of their body looks. They might want a little more quad. They might want a little more shoulders and stuff, maybe some tries and a little bit of arms. But they always want more glutes. And it's very rare for a woman to be like, my gluteus maximus is too big. I got to chill. The rounder and bigger your booty get, the more followers you get on Instagram. These girls have so many more followers than me, and I've been and I wrote the book on glutes. Literally, I wrote Glute Lab. I wrote the book on glutes, and they have way more followers than I do. And you can become rich off of your butt, your booty.
Well, the thing is, I think, let's go back to the 90s. And then
let's go back to the BBL question that you asked. What do I think about BBLs?
But before you go on, Joe Rogan did this, and I want to do it as well. I just want to go to the bathroom for a sec. Do you need to go to the bathroom? Because I need to go. I've drank so much fucking water. But Joe Rogan did it, and Joe Rogan, if I said Joe Rogan can do it, I can do it, and Chris will edit this out.
I'm good. I'm ready to go too. So meet back 5 minutes.
5 minutes. hilarious. What are you drinking?
Canada Dry Ginger Ale Zero.
Zero. Lovely. Look, it's so funny because now we can, because we're blokes and now we can really focus and talk and focus. But I want to go with BBLs, but we want to go backwards and forwards some eras because we're talking about BBLs. But I just wanted to say it's funny because when I started bodybuilding in the early 90s, right? I started bodybuilding, early 90s, so I'm in my 20s. And it's so funny. The gym was a scary place. Not scary by the guys. We went in there to hurt ourselves. It was just constantly overload. It wasn't recreational. It was, oh, fuck, are we training today? Come on, let's go get that done. And you'd walk in and it'd be like, because we didn't have phones, it'd be so much motivation. Come on, bro, you can lift it. And everyone spotted each other. I need a spot. Hey, spot your back, bro. I'll spot your back. Like it was just constant PB on PB. Like we didn't know what we were doing. But it was so funny. A lot of guys weren't focused on the legs. They wanted that upper body. Men's physique would have been amazing back then, the men's physique category. But me, for some reason, I found it because I got really into squatting and I started noticing, like, especially if I was using knee wraps, like the old style, like straps. And I don't know, I also heard Arnold say, or someone say, if you want to build testosterone or keep testosterone high, is squatting, pushing down low, the low stuff, things under the waist builds testosterone, like builds that strength. And I knew I'd have bigger arms if I worked the lower half. I'd have bigger tries if I train the bottom half. It's strange to believe that. I know it all sounds so funny.
By the way, that turned out to be wrong.
Well, there you go. But
we all said it. It was the way I got bros to care about lower body. I'd say, and it's not true.
Oh no, it's not true.
It is true that when you do squats and deadlifts, you get a boost in testosterone.
Yes.
More so than that, but then that doesn't mean your arms grow.
But no, hear me out. No, hear me out.
But we all said
I never
that.
said, but no, I'm not saying.
Testosterone and growth hormone, it's going to flow through your bloodstream. It's going to attach to every muscle in the body, and you get big everywhere. And that's not the case. Stu Phillips was a researcher who put this to the test. He did numerous studies, and he called it the hormone hypothesis, and it's dead now.
All right, but I'll say this. And I'm going to introduce a little bit more to this for you as well. When I trained the lower half strong and hard, for some reason, pushing the weight on my shoulders, squats, leg raises, lunges, hammies, you name it, for some reason, it just allowed me to pick up more weight for a bicep curl, which means...
Even like deadlifts work your whole back. But I agree with that because it's like, when you're strong as hell in your lower body and your deadlifts and things, now you're throwing, like, one hard part of getting bigger upper body is doing incline and dumbbell shoulder presses, getting the weight up to here.
That's what's hard.
Not always easy. I agree with you that there's something to it. Also, it's just like the guys who train legs harder are just more serious lifters, so they're just going to see better results everywhere.
I wanted to. Sorry,
go to the gym and just do like bench every day. And then you don't have a system. How many of us just kind of tinkered around and didn't know what we were doing our first few years of lifting? You didn't see much results. In fact, this girl, Cloudy, that I trained today, she's like, but I've been lifting for 3 years. I saw no results. And I come in here and you're talking about progressive overload. I've seen 10 times more results in 6 months with you than my previous 3 years.
But I think as well, I'm talking about old school bodybuilding. We didn't have that many machines, but we utilized the machines, and we went to bust ourselves up. You only went to you didn't know what you're doing. You just went to bust yourself up. But
also back then we thought you should take every set to failure and beyond.
100%. But the funniest thing is, I don't know about you, but even back then I started working out. Like I said to Terry Mitsos, he was Mr. Australia, and he even stayed on stage with Ronnie Coleman. Mate, he told me where I can go get my body waxed. I went and got my body waxed. No one knew about shaving. I mean, not to say that I've got hair on me now, and I laugh at everybody that's shaving their legs. I've got an 80-year-old uncle that's shaving his legs now. I'm talking about everyone like you. I can see you still got your hair there, right? We've all right. I actually like hair now. I think it's more masculine to have hair. But back then, I remember waxing my body, right? Waxing it, and it hurt like buggery. And I've studied waxing, meaning not studied it. I can tell you the best time to wax. If anyone asks you, they break out, Brett, they're breaking out, tell them this. You got to get waxed in the morning. Don't get waxed in the evening. You get up, you have a shower or whatever, or even if you had the night before shower's okay. And you go wax. Why? Because you haven't turned on the motor, like you haven't put the stresses in yet, right? So the body's nice and relaxed. That's one. So you go. The stubborn parts, the parts that are sticky, that break out with acne, they're the ones you hit first. So upper shoulders, chest area, you hit that first. And then you go through the body. You take control of the beautician. I did. I always took control of the beautician, right? And then when you're finished, you need to go to the beach and dive in the ocean straight away. You need to go and just hit cold water, salt water, be a bit of a walrus, roll around in the sand, go home, have a shower, put your clothing on and go to work. If anyone tells you why they're breaking out, it's because they're leaving it at the end of the day. Your body gets all these oils, stress of the day, and you're just not looking after yourself. So waxing, and it hurts less in the morning when the body doesn't feel like a stubborn pig or whatever it is, whatever you want to try to say. It's got to be this soft mode. So if people are saying to you, oh, if I wax, I break out, because I can't be fucked, excuse the French, shaving. And I did laser. Laser's pretty good. I felt violated because they did my nuts and my asshole, like they went into it. So it was amazing laser. But
I don't want to do that, but I can't bring myself
well,
to
the weirdest thing about
angles.
Well, the weirdest thing about laser was, I'll tell you what the weirdest thing was about laser, because I think people will enjoy this podcast if we talk about some funny stuff, was when I went and did laser, first they told me, you need to shave your body. I said, what? You got to shave everything. So I said, everything? And they said, because when I got waxed, I never really did my genitalia area. Like, fuck, that's going to kill, right? But I actually never touched it. I'm a Greek guy. I like a hairy penis or whatever, balls. Yeah. But having said that, and it seems like most girls want that now because it looks like a turkey if you do it too much. But anyway, that's another story. But that,
if I shave all there, I feel like I look like just
a plucked turkey, like a plucked fucking turkey.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So the thing is,
I think it's popular now to shave more now.
But then what?
Well, I don't think. I mean, I remember my guy friends. It wasn't like when I grew up. It wasn't. No one shaved.
They were waxing.
In the 90s, we didn't. Well, no, we didn't shave.
Or you didn't shave. Whatever you were, you either shave or waxed.
We just like had you didn't shave anything, and then I had this girlfriend that was like, "You need to shave," and then she's like, "I'm not gonna sleep with you if you don't shave." I was 21, and I shaved my body, and I didn't know I had pecs. Everyone was telling me I was like the janitor from The Simpsons. Remember, no one could tell his jack, and then he'd take his shirt off and he was yoked. I had the lines under my pecs. I have a Polaroid picture from back then. Like, we were laughing so hard because, like, wow, who knew he had muscles? I was so hairy. I covered, but yeah.
Well, the thing is why I got waxed, I'll just let you know, even when I was, because remember, I'm only like 7 years older than you, but let's go 7 years before you. I was waxing at 21. My uncles thought I was gay because they saw this guy's got no hair on his legs,
right.
But I'm not homophobic, by the way. I'm just saying, just in case we get out there with it.
Back then, we grew up in a very homophobic era.
100%. But my uncles, right? Well, they just thought, what's going on with Steve, right? And the thing was, the reason I went and got waxed was because Terry told me, if you want to see definition and you want to know what you're training and you want to keep an eye on it, that will get the hair off your body and you'll see clearer what's going on. I didn't wax because I wanted to look more muscular. I was going for the muscular look. I wanted to see the teardrops. I wanted to see the striations. Yeah. And I never competed, but Terry told me that's what you need to do. But we never knew about shaving. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't shave, but he predominantly waxed as well. We just went and waxed. But I remember when I went and got lasered the first time, and it was when I was 49 because I was turning 50 and I was training really hard, Brett. And I'll be honest with you, it was the first time I tried a cycle. I wanted to know what a cycle was like, and I did it. And I'll tell you, you can ask me questions about it. And it was amazing. It was a lot of fun, even going down alleys to go to these shooting up centers to get free syringes and free this and free that. They taught me everything, these bodybuilders, man, because I spoke to the dodgy guys. The dodgy guys helped me go on this cycle. I didn't go to anyone else. But similar to something we spoke about before about increasing testosterone, but I'll tell you more about that. So when I had to go get lasered, this was a male-only laser clinic. It was run by Muslims because Muslim men can't touch, women can't be there, right? So it was just guys. So I remember when I went there, I wanted to experience getting lasered, and they said, yeah, just shave everything. I said, everything? They said, yes, your nuts, your this, your ass. I'm there trying to shave everything. And when I rocked up, I said, what do I do? And the guy goes, strip naked. I went, naked? He goes, yeah, get naked on the table. And I thought to myself, if I fucking get a hard on, we've got a problem here.
Oh my God.
But I didn't. No, but I'm saying to you, so I kept thinking of classic cars. I kept thinking of mountainside, running deers. I just thought this is good because he's moving my penis aside. He's moving my balls this way, that way. I'm like, this isn't right, man. I've never had a guy touching me in my genitalia area. I just hope I don't get a hard on.
Yeah. I haven't thought about that. I don't think I could get aroused. I don't think, yeah.
No, I'm not saying you will get aroused, but I'm saying to you by accident, like it could be by accident.
No, I know it's like someone's touching it. But yeah, I hate grooming. I just want to be maximally productive with social media, and I hate everything I have to do to look. And it's funny because I've been tanning since I was 19. And even in right back there, I've got a tanning booth in my house.
Yeah, tanning. I used to go solariums. A tanning booth.
Yeah. My girls, they're brutal. They're ruthless. They're like, you need to exfoliate. You need to quit tanning. You need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I realized,
plucking eyebrows, eyebrows, ears, hair in your ears.
Yeah, we get hairs in our ears now.
Everything, man.
And you got to care about your looks because, social media now, I have the ring light right here.
Yeah.
I set up a ring light right at my couch. I'm leaning up against my couch, but you have to care about how you look. And
But that's what I love about bodybuilding.
We grew up never thinking about this stuff ever,
But I'm letting you know, it was lonely what I was doing. One of my cousins we did it together. He's the same name as me. We're named after our grandfather and we're the same age. And both of us would wax our bodies. We would train up for going to Europe. I mean, we looked like, George Michael and what was his coach, George Michael and Rick, what was his sidekick?
Wham was the...
Wham. We looked like Wham. We had the pink shorts, yellow singlets. And let me just segue into this one. I looked at your college photos and you look like George Michael.
I did.
Especially with the leather jacket and the hair. For a moment, I was going to start singing Careless Whispers when I looked at that. Have you been told you look like George Michael?
Yeah, those weren't real pictures. Those are 90s AI pictures.
Oh.
Those came out like a year and a half ago, like 90s AI pictures. And they made me look so dreamy, like George. One of them, I look just like George Michael. I know,
but you could be passed as George Michael now, even though God rest his soul.
Yeah.
What's your background? What's your background?
I never did one of those genetic.
No, but originally from are you just?
I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona for 40 years.
Yeah, of course.
And I moved to San Diego, then Vegas, now Fort Lauderdale. But I think my dad's, I've always said my dad's half Mexican, so I'm a quarter. Then we have Irish, German, English, Czechoslovakian, Swedish. Like we have so many European things. But I identify with being Mexican because
of course.
That's the only culture I ever knew was like going to my dad's side of the family. We'd have our parties with all the Mexican food and the Mexican traditions. So, but I don't speak Spanish. So.
Wait a minute. Is that AI? Is that AI?
And it gives me a manly, thick Colombian, like drug lord accent. I'm like, hola, señor. ¿Cómo está usted? Like, I'm like, I love my Spanish persona. But yeah, that's AI as well.
Why do you do a Spanish side then? Why do you do a Spanish side? Because you've got a Spanish page.
You know, I mentioned to you earlier that I was the only glute guy for 10 years. And then this Glute Guru and Booty King came out. I think it was probably like 2017, 2018 maybe. And then they started getting popular, but this Booty King just blew up, and then he had a Spanish page. I'm like, why don't I do that?
Yeah.
And his Spanish page got like 1 million followers. So, but he speaks Spanish. I don't. So he was watching it on one side, and it's funny. He recently vanished. He made his millions. And then the algorithms changed, and he's like, I'm out.
We're going to go to the BBL part, but I want to know something. Why aren't you claiming your prize if you've got the patent? Like, sure, you're a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. You just don't want to take the royalties, the millions that are there. But is there going to be a time when push comes to shove, or do you feel like why is it? Why exactly is it that you won't? Because most people will go claim their prize. You got the patent. Why not get $1 from the world?
When I was 28 years old, I moved back in with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Mom, I need to buy a house. I need to save up. So this was before the housing market collapsed. I just thought you needed to save up money to buy a house. I just thought you needed to put like 10 or 20% down.
Mm.
Back then, houses were only like 200 grand.
Mm.
Now that same house that I bought, my first house that I bought was in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's now 650,000, but back then it was 210,000.
Mm.
I thought I needed to put 20, at least 10% down, put like 21,000 down for a $210,000 house, but that you didn't. Back then you had 100% financing. You didn't have to put money down. Yeah. So that's what kind of another element that fell into place that got me started. I saved up money. I had 20 grand. I go, my twin brother's a realtor. I go, Joe, I can finally buy a house. He's like, what do you mean finally? I saved up 20 grand. I got them money for a down payment. He's like, you never needed a down payment. So I bought equipment for my first garage gym. Okay. I spent all 20,000 on the best power rack platform with every bell and whistle, every specialty bar, reverse hyper, glute ham developer, 45-degree hyper, bench station, chains, bands. It was amazing. But my mom, when I moved back in with my mom, she put this article on the refrigerator. How random. And it said, it's from this guy, Wayne Dyer, who died, but he was a self-help guru. And he said, it was just like a column. And it said, you know, I want to tell you guys a little story and teach a lesson with it. Years ago, I was embroiled in this terrible legal battle with one of my competitors. And there was a fellow self-help guru who they got in a legal battle, and it was just weighing on him. And the legal system here in the U.S. is, you know, it's 3 years. It's going to be a few years to have a lawsuit. It looms over you. And he's like, it just was this dark cloud. It was this ugliness, this source of like stress every day for a few years. And one day I just woke up and said, I don't like this. This is not serving me well. And I'm going to call the guy up. Which is funny, you're not allowed to call the people up who are involved in a lawsuit, but I maybe have his lawyers talk, but like, what do you want? Let's settle this. Let's get this over with. This is ugly. And, you know, whatever he had to do, or they just decided, you know what, let's settle this now. Fair is fair, whatever. I don't know if he had to pay or what happened, but maybe the other guy agreed to pay some, but they got the lawyers out of it. They settled. And it was done. And he goes, the second it was done, it was like this weight had been lifted off my chest, and I could breathe again, and I could see the good in the world again. And so if you ever have, like, you basically, I don't know what the exact moral of the story was, but I took it as like, oh God, I don't ever want to be in a legal battle. I don't ever want to be sued, and I don't want to sue. So I don't like sue happy Americans.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a reputation for this. It just makes the world suck.
Mm.
If everyone were more fair. And so I never wanted to sue people. So yeah, I sent some infringement notifications back in the day. And I just was like, I don't want to sue people, but you could do licensing deals. And I did a couple of those early on.
Okay.
And then everyone started making them. And I was so busy and I was just like, I can't keep up. They never approached me. Hey, Brett, I know you have a patent. It was always just me finding out these people are making them. These people are making them. And my goal was always for the hip thrust to be, so when I invented the hip thrust, I told you, I was watching UFC. I went out to my garage. I moved the glute ham developer across the garage next to the reverse hyper. I put my back up on the glute ham developer, the rounded back pad. I put my feet up on the reverse hyper. I had put a dip belt around me. Suspended underneath me were 4 45-pound plates. So it's 180 pounds. It's around what a human adult male weighs. And I just started thrusting. And I think I got like 14 reps. I was going to go for 15. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like my left glute is going to pull. I'm cramping up.
Mm.
I felt this in my life. And I put the weight down. I got out of the dip belt and I walked in the front yard. I looked up in the sky. It's like I knew instantly. I went, I'm going to spend the rest of my life making this exercise as popular as humanly possible. This is what my life's going to be about now. And before I was going to go this way, and then I had an idea, and then boom, I'm going this way. I knew it like that. And yes, I love all the exercise. I'm a biomechanics geek. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a coach. I love all variations. You don't see me bashing exercises.
No, you don't bash exercises.
I love all the exercises, but hip thrusts are my baby, and I have spent the rest of my life. I've funded research. I've published research. I went and got my PhD so I'd know about research and be more scientific. But it was about getting the hip thrust to be as popular as possible. Could it be as popular if I'm taking a cut away from everyone?
Mm.
So money's cool. I love having money, but there's more to life than just money. You got to have a purpose, and my purpose is to be a good coach, to help. I always want to be a net positive in people's lives and try to do more, like have them benefit more from being my friend than I benefit from them. I want to be a fair person, and I care about people's fitness. If you want to get in shape, I'm going to help you. And I love people. But there's certain things that are more important. I might decide to crack down on it, but if so, I would say I'm using this money to fund research.
Oh yeah. Well, I think you've built it the fundamental way, like you said, gyms, machines, books, clients. It's kind of like you haven't gone for the easy money, I guess. And I wanted to ask, because I do want to go and get your idea about BBLs and how women are feeling about the glute at the moment, and also social media being able to enhance things and move things around. And the difference between, let's talk about fat butt, muscular butt, whatever butt it is, I'm trying to say. But tell me something. Are you like the Alex Hormozi? Are you teaching us to do hip thrusts with thongs on? Like, you've got your own look, mate. You've definitely got you got your jean shorts. Occasionally you've got a singlet, but it looks like you've got your comfortable dress code that says, hey, this is me. This is how I like operating as a businessman. This is how I like to operate. And this, because Alex Hormozi has a dress. Steve Jobs had a dress code. He had the, what do you call it? What do you call that when it's, what? Turtleneck. And the bad sneakers and blue jeans. You know what I mean? Trump, he usually has a suit on, red tie. He kind of runs with that a little bit, that suit, the oversized kind of suit. Everyone's got that look. And now Alex Hormozi likes to, he's got his flannel and he's
got a nose piece he wears.
Oh, well, that breathing piece. But like I said, what about you? Yeah, what about you? I'm watching you doing hip thrusts with thongs on.
So I just grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I never wore shoes.
Yeah.
I was barefoot. My I never wore shoes. I hated wearing shoes. And you can adapt. Like I'd be in the scorching heat.
Yep.
And I remember we'd run around on gravel. Like I could run on gravel. Now I take one step on gravel. I'm like, I can't do it now, but I could then. And we just were, I have wide feet. They're spread out from never wearing shoes. But I got to a point in life where when I moved here to Florida, I'm like, why do I have to, I own the gym. It's warm here. Why do I have to dress like everyone else? I own the gym. People will be like, how dare you not wearing shoes in the gym? I'm like, it's my gym. Yeah. I can dress how I want. I love it. It's a very free freedom to be like, and it reduces decision fatigue. I like the way I look in jorts. And so I have like 50 pairs of jorts. I like these long tank tops. I learned that scoop at the bottom, how they scoop down. I learned that when I went to Auckland, New Zealand. I lived there for a year for the first year of my PhD. They had I liked their fashion more. They were having like mullets way before they were popular. I loved mullets.
Yeah, I got fucking afro. Yeah. I found that I think they asked, was it Steve Jobs? They asked someone, like these billionaires, and they said, I don't want to think about what I got to wear in the morning.
It reduces decision.
Yeah, and I have a Monday to Friday on black jeans, black tees. Monday to Friday. I got a row of black tees and a row of black jeans. And and my Vans, black, I got my Vans, and that's it. That's my dress code for the Monday to Friday, business decisions, going to meetings. That's how I do it, right? Whatever it is. But even when I got nothing going on, I put that on. That's like, I don't want to think I got nothing on. I just get dressed that way. But I think I've seen your look, and you've got a very distinct, your own look, which they could put one of those, those dolls on your dash that pops around, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think I do believe that it reduces decision fatigue. And another good thing is like, I feel like when I lived in New Zealand, I was homesick. I started researching happiness because I was sad.
Okay.
I remember writing a blog post about it in like 2015 or something, 2012 maybe. It was like 2012. And I'm like, anyone writing a blog on happiness is probably pretty depressed. And I've been lonely. I've started reading. But interestingly, the same stuff that makes you happier also improves your quality of life, improves your longevity and your lifespan, your quantity of life. And it's like your social connectivity is huge.
Yep.
One of the biggest things you can do, and that's a lot of reasons why these certain parts of the world live to be 100 years old and longer. Like they have more centenarians than anyone, and a lot of it has to do with their social connectivity. It probably adds, like, if I had to guess based on the research, it probably adds 10 years to your life if you just have a good social situation. So I feel like I kind of have a cheat code, and you can only do this if you get wealthy. But yeah, buy a gym and get all the good equipment, and then just let a bunch of cool people train with you and don't charge them. Because I have the business expense. I need to be filming social media. I need to work out.
Yeah.
In fact, I can't. I don't like working out at public gyms because I miss the socialization. But now people just slam the weights too much, and it triggers me. I hate it. At World Gym, Fort Lauderdale here, Powerhouse Gym, Fort Lauderdale. The owner actually passed away, but he had told me, like, Brett, I'm a huge fan of yours. And I was like, why don't you crack down on it? There's always like 3 machines out of order. Why don't you crack down on the people slamming these weights? I have equipment. Remember when I told you I saved up money and I still have equipment that has never been repaired. To this day, it's 22 years later. Someone like you has lasted 22 years without ever having to be repaired. Built to last if you treat it right. But if you slam the weights, there's always 3 machines out of order. And I'm always triggered because I'm like, oh my God, is it okay? Why are they slamming the weights? And it's these guys are so bizarre. It's like the guys who, you said you like cars and motorcycles and stuff. They rev their engines and you go down. San Diego and Mission Boulevard, and they rev their engine, they set off all the car alarms. I don't relate. I try to be very courteous. I don't want to be too loud. I'm not a loud neighbor, and I could never drive revving my engine. I just don't understand them. What do they? I think men. I can't rationalize it. I think men are so douchey, especially bodybuilders. They're so incredibly douchey that in their minds, girls are going to hear them slam the weights. They think that girls are going to be like, "Oh my God, what a manly man slamming weights." And because why else would they do it? You know, they have the strength to control it. And so anyway, the owner, he passed away, but he had told me, Brett, if you want to go confront people, I'll kick the people out if you want. Like, I got your back. I got your back. So I went up to two big bodybuilders that are like more muscular than me. And I couldn't take it anymore. One guy was so out of control. He would just like pretty much drop the weight. And there were stories of him endangering people because he'd also slam 45s on the bar. Yeah. And the other side, the plate would launch off the other side and almost hit. So I hit a woman. So I was like, why do you do that? Why do you? And then he's like, I mean, if you move the weight I do, if you move the amount of weight I do, you'd be doing that too. And I go, what does that mean? You can't control the negative? Like, yeah. I'm a PhD in sports science. You're like 50% stronger on the way down on the lowering phase. Yeah. It's lowering the weight is always easy. You can do it, trust me. But I go, also, I think I'm stronger than you at everything. That's what's hilarious about it. I know you're bigger, but I'm literally stronger than you at everywhere. And he was like being very condescending, and I was like trying to let him know, like, I'm not the slightest bit afraid of you, but also you're not going to break these machines. And I said, oh, this gym is all these out of order equipment, like. It's because of you and all the people here that slam the weights. And I'm sick of wanting to use my favorite piece and then it's out of order. You need to treat the weights. I am a gym owner. You need to treat the weights with more respect. And it's out of control. It's out of control. We used to have so much better commercial gym etiquette back in the day.
We did.
We
were told.
With each other. You go up just going, hey, how many sets do you have left? I got 3 sets left. Do you want to work in? Now I go to a gym and I'm like, how many sets do you have left? And this little broccoli-haired kid with like on his phone, and he's like, I don't know. Like, what do you know? Do you have 5 sets? I'm just trying to gauge if I should wait or not.
Yeah.
Oh, I trained to fatigue. That's what he said. I trained to fatigue. I go, what does that mean?
Yeah, God, I know.
You mean that I trained to fatigue? So I go, are you going to be fatigued in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes? I don't know. I just listen to my body. It is so hard for me. I have envisions of like just picking him up and putting him on the machine next to me and saying, unfortunately, I'm taking the machine. Like, and I hate to be like that. Like, I'm bigger than you. I'm taking the machine. Does that mean then I'm back to the bullying world? But I just can't stand these kids. They're so disrespectful. They will take a machine for 20 minutes while they're on their phone.
Yeah.
And it needs to be like, I own a gym. It's not like that in my gym. My gym's no one slams the weights, but I don't have a ton of people. But anyway, back to what I was saying, that I got to wrap this up. The reason, so they all love me. My clients in San Diego are my best friends. My clients in Fort Lauderdale, I'm super close with them. I love seeing them every day, and they love me. Why? Because I don't charge. I don't charge for training. So how can you not love me? I haven't charged in 8 years. I've made $0 personal training in 8 years.
Why?
And it's brilliant because how much I can make so much more money online than I can in real life. If I make my gym a business, it's now stressful. And then I'm stressed and I don't have as good ideas. I don't innovate. And I don't have as much energy for social media.
Are you a perfectionist? Are you to detail? Are you right to detail? Like, are you very analytical, perfection, or not?
No, I'm analytical, but I'm not a perfectionist. But some things I can be. But what I realized was, I want to be the best. I don't want to be a fake trainer like these influencers now. I want to be the smartest glute guy in the world. I always want to be the glute guy. So,
But aren't you?
maybe guys can get more followers than me, but they're never going to innovate the way I do. They're never going to they're never going to know more than me about the glutes. Like, because you can study anatomy, you can study biomechanics, you can be a trainer, but you got to do it all. You got to lift, you got to train people, you got to read research if you want to beat me.
Did you ever want to compete?
I have skinny legs at 240 pounds. To get to 8% body fat, I think I'd have to get down to 200 pounds. And I have skinny legs now.
What about men's physique?
I'd have big legs.
What about men's physique?
It would be fun. It would be something cool to do because I did powerlifting. I did 3 powerlifting, and I'm not strong at bench or squats, but I can deadlift a lot.
Oh, well, because we're going to wrap up soon, because I want to let you go. I just want to some things people might not know, which I did mention. You love reading. You read 2 hours a night, and you did state this. You said,
It changed my life.
yeah, and it also financially
Reading made
helped.
me rich.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
self-taught. I read T Nation every day. I'm self-taught in exercise science. Even when I got my PhD, my professor, he's like, "You never meet with me. I don't need to. I can put it online."
Yeah, so you like to read, which you mentioned. But yeah, how do you feel about the era today with the BBLs and cheating their way through things?
So I wish we could. How cool would it be? You were honest. You said at age 50, I did a cycle.
Yeah.
Why can't everyone be like that? Hey, I got a BBL. I love it. I'm so much more confident. Why can't we talk about that? If you have the money and you work hard and you're responsible with your money, and there's something that might make you feel better, be it Botox, lip filler, whatever. Lee Priest got face tattoos, like whatever is going to make you feel better. And we're all struggling in life. If something give you more self-confidence, go for it.
Yeah.
How cool would it be if if I could just have my delts look the way they look when they're pumped up?
Yeah.
Give a lot of money for that, but I wouldn't inject them with oil because I think you'd be able to tell.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't do like delt implants, but I don't even think they have delt implants. That would be weird. But I wish I could. I've been training my whole life. I wish I could. Now, steroids are kind of a touchy topic because you do steroids and tell people, and they erase all the hard work you ever did. And it's, CBUM was telling people, I had to tell people, you could do all the steroids in the world and you won't look like me. Boys are so dumb about steroids. You'll look like these. If you just take the steroids, you will look like Ronnie Coleman, and you won't. No. There's a genetic component to it. But then they discredit all your hard work. If you are a woman and you say you have a BBL, but so here's what so I will defend people like imagine being like, breast implants are fraud. Breast implants. They've been around the 60s or something. So everyone accepts breast implants. Everyone should accept BBLs too. Now, we accept everything else. You can get lipo. You can have a facelift. You can get a lot of my girls here got nose jobs. Yeah. Why should we be judgmental? This person is doing it for their self-esteem. It help your career. But the problem that sucks is that people are so anti-BBL that now women can't talk about it. And they can't admit it. And I wish they could. Just like I wish men could admit, or women, they also can't say, I took Anavar. They don't talk about their cycles much because it's so heavily judged. I remember when Barry Bonds and Lance Armstrong were getting cracked down, and I'm like, what did you think? Athletes, people are so naive. They think athletes don't use steroids. But anyway, I wish it was we could talk about this more. The only problem is if you to get a BBL and then you sell glute programs. That's unethical. You shouldn't sell glute programs if you have a BBL.
100%. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You sell glute programs, but you could say, I got a disclaimer, I have a BBL. But you could also say, look, even with my BBL, my glutes, I trained someone who, I think she had a BBL. She won't admit it, but I did get her glutes to look even better.
Yeah.
Like I built her strength up. She got so strong and her butt looked even better than when she, so even if she did have a BBL, and it's funny because I don't even pay attention, but I have like people online will be like, I went back 3 years ago. I never scroll back and look at people's stuff, but I went back and she didn't have this. And like, you can
people research, mate. Don't worry about that.
Or I could see a scar or something. I don't pay attention to that, but I don't mind. I would say, don't just jump into a BBL because you might be able to build it the natural way and then have function and the athleticism and the pride that comes along building it the natural way.
Yeah, I found when I told you that I took a cycle it was at 49. I was turning 50 and I was thinking about competing. I've never competed. So I thought about it. I had no coach. I didn't use a coach. I don't use coaches, meaning I probably can do better if I use a coach, but I dabbled in it. It was in a period of 1 year, like a 6-month period. So I did a 1 cycle and then I did a 2nd cycle. The 2nd cycle, I blew myself out. I got greedy. I thought, if I can go a little bit more. But there's one thing it taught me clearly. What it taught me this. It only made me stronger, which made me pick up more weights, which made me break muscle down and rebuild it bigger. So what it said to me was, if I can lift heavier weights and do progressive overload correctly and diet well, I might not need the steroids. Meaning it depends at what level you want to go. So all I found was it was just an enhancement for a moment, but I've never taken it since. I did it when I was 49. I'm 55 now, but it was just an interesting experiment. It was more just an experiment for me.
Well, Steve, me and my friends all did steroids we didn't know it.
Yeah.
We didn't know. And you think that if I told this story, people are going to be like, how are you that stupid? We did not know we were taking steroids. They were advertised as pro hormones. They were legal. They were everywhere. Steroids were illegal. Pro hormones were legal. And it was Stendione, then that became illegal, and that didn't do anything anyway. But then they made the one test, and I can't remember all their names, but there was this Patrick Arnold genius who was making all these crazy compounds, and then they put it on the market and advertise it as a pro hormone.
Mm-hmm.
We would buy it. People would say, do you guys do steroids? We'd go, hell no, never. We would never do steroids. We do pro hormones, and people would be like, is that the same thing? No, it doesn't. They're not 1/10 as powerful as steroids. We did not know these were just steroids that had not been classified as steroids yet.
Mm-hmm.
So then they kept getting better, and we would buy them thinking we were just, and we were, but my friends were getting jacked off of it. I didn't see much results from it. So I shared a bottle with my friend and he got huge, and I'm like, I must not respond well to this stuff. Because we're taking the exact same bottle.
Right.
My roommate, and he got jacked, and I didn't see much results. But we didn't know. We really didn't know, and because steroids were illegal.
Yeah.
We didn't know the process that the FDA had to ban them. So they would ban them. There'd be another one that would come out, and then we learned down the road that it's kind of shady, because I think it caused a lot of side effects that we didn't know that we thought we were just taking hormones that were hormones that our body made that were just pro hormones. I don't know. They were advertised as pro hormones. So yeah, we were taking them I guess it was in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, and we didn't.
Yeah, no, there was, like I said, there was a few shady things going on. So because we're coming to the end now, I just want to, obviously we spoke about you being a maths teacher. How was that? And did you enjoy being a maths teacher?
So here's what's crazy. And I hope this is like, if anyone listens to this, it gives them motivation, because I didn't like working. I thought there was something wrong with me. I hated work.
Stop there. I stopped there. The first day I went to work at 18. And then when I got up the next day and I put my feet on the side of the bed, I said, is this it? This is fucked.
Yeah.
This is fucked.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I got that feeling. I said, this is work? I've got to
Yeah.
do this for the rest of my life. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this.
I have to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
And I'm
hearing you.
I'm like, I hated work. I remember I worked out a deal with my boss. I go, what if I work half the hours? You want us to do 100 calls a day in 8 hours. Will you let me work 4 hours? If I make 80 calls a day, I can crank in 4 hours.
Yeah.
I just want to go home.
Yeah.
And I would use the money I made to buy my friends a keg of beer every Saturday. But the deal was every Friday and Saturday, I'd buy a keg for everyone. But they had to pitch in to buy the next keg. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but I used to be a partier. And I've always been very generous. But I just had a job so I could buy my friends beer. But she let me, and there were 5 of us that worked at this job, and I beat one of my friends working 4 hours a day, and he worked 8 hours a day. I just hated work, and I just thought, when I was going to college, when it came time to choose a major, I went, God, what's a job that I could tolerate? I think teaching would be nice. You don't have to work all day. You can, the bell rings at 3:00, you go home.
Yeah.
So that'd be nice. You also have fall break, spring break, winter break.
Yeah, best holidays.
And you have summers off. So I lived for the summer. As a teacher, I lived for the summer. I had a really good system. Like as a teacher, I would go to the counselor. I'd say, how many TAs am I allowed to have? What do you mean? How many teachers' assistants can I have? I guess you could have 2 per period. Like, okay, get me 2 TAs for every, and they'd be my little assistants, and I'd put them to work. And then I could show up right before the bell ring. I could leave right, and then during my prep period, I'd take a little nap. I had a little pillow and sleeping bag. I'd lock the door, take a little nap, and then right after the bell ring, I'd go work out. I'd be home at 5:00. I didn't go to sleep till midnight. I'd have 7 hours of free time every day for me to study bodybuilding. And my friends, I come from a family of teachers, and they'd be there till 6 p.m., grading papers. And I'd go, you're not getting paid extra for that. You get paid salary. But teachers are a nation of sheep. I was on the teachers union. My uncle's a firefighter. He ended up being chief of Glendale Fire Department. And he's like, Brett, I don't do anything without running it by the union. Every firefighter is 100% union. Everyone's in the union, and they're strong. It's a cooperation. Teachers, I was in the executive board of the teacher union, trying to make changes, but we don't even have 50% union membership. There's like 45% of the teachers belong to the union, and they're all afraid. So I'd be like, we got to strike. We can't strike. We're a right to work state. Arizona's a right to work state. We'll get fired. If they fire anyone, we don't come back. That has to be agreed upon. You can't fire you can't retaliate. My district took taxpayer money and kept it from us. They found a loophole, and I'm like, we're making $30,000 a year when I started. I made $29,000 my first year, but again, life was so cheap back.
It was
back
cheap.
I had a studio apartment for $512 a month. That was utilities included.
Yeah.
And I had to find life in my little studio. Life was easier back then, and so I like teaching, because if you do a good job, and I was like the favorite teacher everywhere I worked. So all the kids loved me. I didn't have a lot of discipline problems. So the assistant principals, the principals, they leave you alone, and it's your own little boss. It was a good job, but I remember I would pace around. My teacher friend goes, Brett, will you go to this wedding with me? I want you to make this guy jealous. I have a crush on him. And I want you to make him jealous. And I'm like, of course I'll go with you. And she's like, come to think of it, you're almost perfect. You're athletic, you're tall, you're fit, you're funny, you're smart. I guess your only flaw is that you don't make any money. And I was like,
do you want to call her now? Should we call her? Should we do a surprise call? Like the radio stations, they do the surprise call.
Yeah. Look at me now. But that hurt. Just like when I was 16, listening to the girls in high school say, let's go watch football practice. Let's go watch the guys I love staring at their butts. And I went, oh God, I don't like this. I don't have a butt. I don't have any butt at all. So I've always been like, I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with this. I need to change it. So I remember that day I joined Amazon. I got an Amazon account and I bought 2 books by Robert Kiyosaki about making money.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
No, it wasn't rich. It was Cash Flow Quadrant. And then the other was with Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump about like money. And and who would have known Trump would become president down the road? I just bought it for financial advice 20 years ago. Yeah. And I wanted to make more money. So I found a way to be a teacher while getting paid way more for it.
It's funny that those books work.
I'm so grateful to feel like I lived through. I came up at a time where there was more integrity, and I was the most popular strength coach in the world for a long time.
I remember, yeah.
Everyone knew who I was. I'd go places. Everyone knew who I was. I was so respected. And I'm just so grateful for that. Times have changed, some for the better, some for the worse. But what I try to tell my clients is one thing you can count on is cost of living going like this and income going like this. So you get less money for your dollar, less purchasing power, stuff always costs more. When are we going to figure it out? When are we as a country, as a world, going to say, why are we doing this when why can't we make it back to how it used to be where the dollar went way further? But in the meantime, you got to care about your retirement. See,
I can't do that though. I can do it. No, I'm with you. I'm not doing a great job at it. I did a good job with retirement, but what I was going to say is, you're right, Brett. I remember when I bought my first property, it was a quarter of my wages. That's pretty good. A quarter of my wages. So what I'm saying is, we've got property in Australia. I'm gonna put something simple for you. Listen to this one, and maybe your listeners are listening, or hopefully they are. Let's say the property is $1 million. $1 million. I wasn't a manager. I was in IT, but I was not a manager. I just did my shifts, I did my work, and I earned a quarter of the property. So I was on 40K a year. The property was worth 160. Yeah. So if you want to buy $1 million property and you want to have a job that you got no responsibilities, well, you got to be earning $250,000. Who earns $250,000? And you're right. I could buy property, go out, buy my Harley Davidson, have a sports car, and book holidays. It just could work. Don't ask me why. There was change. I don't know why. Now there's no change to do anything. So it's crazy. And last thing I'll say, because I want you to hear all this, I was reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he said, I can make money from nothing. And I said, what? So I read his book about making money from nothing, right? He somehow got magazines from a news agency they were throwing out, and he created a library, and people paid to read the books. That's what he did. So I said, and I was into positively geared property. So I flew to New Zealand as well. I went to New Zealand, Christchurch, to go look at property that I didn't have to put money down. So I leveraged an Australian bank, a New Zealand bank. I put the money together and I bought the property 100% with no money down. I sold it a year later for $110,000 more. And I said, bloody hell, Robert Kiyosaki, it worked. But people aren't paying attention or reading books.
And that's, I think, you if you don't have a retirement, you have to work till you die. Yeah. So if you're not paying off a mortgage, then you have to pay rent till you die. if you don't have a pension or you can't count on Social Security. So yeah, you need to care about that. And everyone loves being independent now. And I'm like, financially, it makes sense to partner up. Life is a lot easier when you have a spouse, a partner to, if I have a girlfriend, I'm not going to charge her. I have this, I own this house. I'm not going to charge her rent. This is my house. I don't care about, I'll cover the expenses, but it's hard.
But that's old school. That's old school, mate.
Life is hard. I mean, for me, I don't need you to pitch in. I have the money. I don't have the time. It is hard when I own different houses. I own different gyms. Every day there's something going on. And paying the bills, and the jacuzzi stopped working, and the car is doing this, and this is happening, and the lock isn't working properly at Glute Lab, and plumbing, and you name it, the air conditioning unit, and there's always something going on, and it's so hard. Everyone struggles with things. I struggle to juggle all those things because I want my day to be surrounded by three things. I want to work out, I want to read research to stay on top of the science, and I want to make social media content. If I can do those three things, I will do well in life. I got to look the part. I got to talk the talk. I got to walk the walk. I got to have the knowledge, and I got to train people. So I have that expertise always. But social media, training people, lifting weights, and reading is a full life.
Sounds, and probably buying property. You're probably buying property. You probably love property.
I used to until these fires in California happened.
Oh.
And I realized your property can burn, and right before the insurance companies can drop you.
Yeah,
like I live on the water. If there's a hurricane, I lose $3.5 million.
Wow, I can't believe it. So tell me 2 more questions, and then we're going to go over the body and we'll finish.
Okay.
When did you become the tough guy? Because, hear me out. When did the point where you got punched in the face, the guy that took fucking instructions from that, we should call him as well. I think we should call a few people, by the way, like a TV show, radio show. But when did you become?
I was 18.
When did you get that?
I graduated from high school, and people go, Brett, your physique, you have a good physique. And I went, huh? Me?
Yeah.
It took me a couple years to see it.
Yeah.
You can have scars so deep that you can change, and the scars can heal, but the mental scars take longer for me to have the confidence. It took me a couple years, but even at 18, girls and guys were saying, wow, you have a great physique. We're all, my friend owned a boat, and we were going to the lake every 3-4 days a week, riding the tubes. And when you're behind the tubes, it was a fast boat, and we would try to dump each other off. And so you'd be twisting the steering wheel, go off in this direction. So you're using your arms like maximum arm contractions. I was getting pretty ripped.
Yeah.
And getting a good physique. But it took me a while to get the confidence, but I just never really got in a fight. I fought my twin brother every day. So we grappled. That's why I thought about the hip thrust. Because I'm like, Joel and my twin and I would mount each other, and you'd buck him off.
Yeah.
Now, the jiu-jitsu guys could be saying you get your hooks in. They don't get their hooks in MMA. They're just straddling them. If you have a powerful thrust, you can escape easier.
Yeah.
But why aren't they bucking? Buck him off. We would buck like a bronco. And then I had my brother's friend was a Gold Gloves boxer. I bought a punching bag, but I was like, he was watching me. I was wailing away at it, not knowing how to punch. And he goes, Brett, here's how you punch. And he showed me a 1-2, stand here, jab, and the right cross. And I'm like, what about hooks and uppercuts? He goes, no, never. You don't need to learn that. Here's the anatomy of a bar fight. You have guy posturing, what's up, bro? What's up, bro? And he was like, always have when there's something going down, go like this. Kind of have your hands like this. Because that's you can't go like this, then you instigate the fight. But go like this. And he said, here's what happens. I've been in like 40 fights and they all end in like one punch knockouts. Guy picks a fight. What's up, dude? What's up, dude? Pushing. And then there's a haymaker. Guy cocks back and throws the hardest punch that's going to take your head off. But a straight punch beats if you cock back, that takes time. If you just go boom, a straight punch beats a curved punch. And he just said, just throw 1-2. So I didn't know I was a decent fighter. I just threw 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Oh, after I worked out, I'd park, I'd hit the heavy bag for 5-10 minutes, come back in. And I didn't know I was a tough fighter. And I did the MMA training when I was 28, so 20 years ago. And here's what's funny. I sparred against 5 UFC fighters back in the day, 20 years ago. And they all said, you're the strongest guy I've ever sparred against. And I'd go, me? Because I'm not weight room strong. But they'd say, yeah, the strongest guy I've ever sparred against. But I'd go, but you submitted me 3 times in 5 minutes. They could mop the floor with me because they're better at jiu-jitsu. They go, yeah, but you have talent. But I was like, training, like I didn't pick it up till I was 28. And I just got my master's degree and I wanted to go somewhere in life. I'm like, I learned it too late. I learned early on, like my friend made fun of me and I said something back making fun of him. And he's like, outside. Now the whole party went out, like I went on the balcony and I squared up and I hit him. And then he got up. I helped him up. And then, yeah, we squared away. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like fighting. I mean, he's my size, but he's a badass football player. This is like fighting a little boy. Like I remember, I don't want to. Do you want me to? I don't want to do this. I'm too bad for you. I don't want to embarrass you. And he actually ran up to get a gun.
No,
he was like ran up to get a gun to shoot me. And my friend tackled him. And we always would say down the road because we were still friends. I go, would you really have shot me? He's like, I think I would have. You embarrassed me so bad. I think I would have. I could have died anyway. I realized just through lifting weights, and it was at that same time I would go play softball with my friends, and I'd hit every pitch out of the park. Like I'd hit a home run, and I'm like,
so confidence started building.
Hey, well, lifting weights is really good for your athleticism.
Yeah.
I just was a late bloomer, so I never bullied people. I just didn't like bullies.
Yeah.
So friends would get mad at me. We'd go out, they'd always get in brawls, and I can't just walk up to someone and hit them. So they'd be like, why did you jump in? I'm like, I would if someone attacked me, but I'm not going to just walk up to someone and hit them. So I realized I was a good fighter, but I didn't, for like not being trained, but I'm enthralled by MMA. I wish I had like I wish you could do like in the Matrix where they plug in and you could learn all the different forms, from boxing to kickboxing to wrestling to Brazilian jiu-jitsu to judo to, even karate and taekwondo, and everything is cool to me. I love it all. And I love physical therapy. I love strength training. I love CrossFit. I love bodybuilding. I love powerlifting. I love strongman. I love Olympic weightlifting. I love studying how the different track and field athletes train versus like the different sports. Wow. It's all knowledge. It all blends together. You need to know some physical therapy if you train strong lifters, because they're always training through something.
Was it the having no ass that created that insecurity that you had, or was it something else growing up? I wanted to eventually get laid because I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a 40-year-old virgin if I don't. Like, then I learned you don't have to have muscles. You have to have confidence and talk the talk. And you have to like just be there, guys focus on all the wrong things. But sometimes. What was the insecurity though, besides being laid? What was it before that? Purely my physique. Physique, wow. But you look like you got a great physique from what I see. I know you've trained it, but I guess because you were so tall, you were so tall, that was the problem as well. You were lanky. I was tall and lanky. Yeah. And like back in my day, Ethiopia was like this starving country, and it wasn't like the
you didn't have to be politically correct. So everyone would see me and go, you look like an Ethiopian. Like,
yeah, no, back then we can say whatever we want. Yeah, yeah.
All the starving kids on TV,
Yeah.
the TV channels trying to get you to donate money to Ethiopia that was starving. So people would all be like, you look like an Ethiopian, because I was so skinny, I looked sickly.
It's funny because I don't mean to interrupt because I want to be mindful of your time. I remember I was bullied. I was bullied at school, chased by I think they were Lebs, 2 Lebs, chased me, Lebanese, that is, Lebs would call me. But I've got no problem with Lebs either, but back then maybe I did. But they chased me. And then there was this one, it's like a redneck, we call them skips here, like a redneck. And they bullied me. And then when I went to high school, the first year, one of them was there. And it was like he was a year above me. And it was like, oh, don't tell me we're starting again. We're starting from day dot. So I said to my mate, I'm going to have to fight this one out. So I remember one afternoon, we got chips and scallops. And I said to my mate, grab my chips, grab my scallops. It's time to fight. And I just called out to the guy. I said, hey, whatever I said. He goes, what's up? He came over and I just went bang, 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 bang. And that was the day. That was the day I said, no more, we fight. We're on. Like there's no more. I don't need to bully anyone. I don't go pick on anyone. But you got a problem, we're going to do it. We're going to hit it out.
Yeah. But back in our day, I don't know if this still happens. There was this movie Swingers with Vince Vaughn. It was his first popular movie. Yeah. And Jon Favreau or whatever. Vince Vaughn was skinny in it. Very, very good looking guy. Mm. I wonder what year that movie came out. I'm going to Google it while we're talking. So in this movie, they Swingers. What year? 1996.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
I was, I think, 20 years old. So in the movie, they almost get in a brawl with this group. And then like some guy pulls a gun and they're like, why do you have a gun? And anyway, it's this heated fight. And then a few days later, the one guy who had the gun comes over the house and they're all playing video games. And they're like, what's going on? I thought we hated these people. No, they're actually pretty cool. And they're like, already talking smack and good friends already. But that's how it was back in the day. Mm. I'd have had a code. If my friends like hit someone, knocked them down, you wouldn't stomp on them or keep hitting them. You would chill. You weren't trying to kill them. You weren't trying to bait them. And then we wouldn't try to team up and like have 5 people beat at one. You tried to respect. Like there were rules and there was kind of a code that I liked. And I remember thinking, God, if I ever run into these bullies, I'm gonna get even. Yeah. When I graduated from college or high school, we went back a few years later to like my dive bar by my high school, and I saw all of them, and they quit lifting weights because they only lifted weights for football.
Yeah.
And I saw them, and they're so funny. Like I didn't have to say anything because I was lifting weights and I was much bigger, and I put on a lot of weight. Yeah. And they were like, "Oh, what's up, Brett? What's up, Brett? How's it going? Good to see you, buddy." Like, but they knew, and I didn't have to say. I always thought I'd be like, "You piece of shit! Do you remember when you hit me? You used to." Like one guy just for no reason just put my head in the locker and like slammed it. Like, got bullied bad. And when I was a teacher, I was very glad to see they have anti-bullying policies. They don't tolerate bullying as much.
Yeah.
Now probably cyberbullying. Thank God we didn't have to deal with that.
Have you seen the movie with The Rock, Central Intelligence?
Oh God, it's so funny.
How about when he goes, "Oh, you like unicorns?" He goes, "Yeah, I love the corns." And his fanny pack, right? And when the guy goes, "That's a lot of aggression, buddy, coming from a guy," whatever he said, and I'm not going to go outside and toss off with my mate. Why would I do that? And then he goes, "I've got to tell you something." When he goes, "I don't like bullies." And then he just beats up the whole bar. How cool was that?
Oh God, I loved The Rock is, I have a mural of The Rock and Arnold in my gym.
Okay.
My heroes, Rock and Arnold, two larger than life characters.
My son, when he used to go to school when he was little, and then I'm going to go over the body with you, but when he used to go to school, I used to say his name is Yanni. I go, Yanni, and at the moment he's doing Muay Thai. This kid's got to fight, but he wants to fight in the ring. He doesn't pick on anyone, but he wants to fight in the ring because he's built to fight. I can tell. He's just got to fight. Not that he's built big, muscly. He's just got the eye and the intention, but it's got to be in the ring. Like he needs it. So he needs the impact. And he used to go to school and I used to say to him, now, Yanni, you know the rules. I said, front of the class. You got to sit at the front of the class. Okay? That's where the answers are. That's where you get the free points. And that's where you learn. That's, like I said, front of the class. Are we clear? Just got it. Second thing, longest reach. When they're coming at you, if it's the front kick, if whatever it is, just hit them. Don't ask questions. And that was through his whole schooling. Front of the class, what's your longest reach? At the beginning of the term, front of the class, longest reach. Front of the class, longest reach. You can ask him. He used to go, what's your longest reach? So I know that's not very good parenting, but I just said, don't ask questions. Just get it over and done with, mate.
It worked out right, whatever you said, yeah.
And also, I do have rituals and habits. I've never done martial arts, anything. But every morning I hit the bag. And guess what I do? Jab, kinging,
yeah.
jab, kinging. Because what I realized, like you said, in a bar fight, as if we're going to start on the ground with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Come on, let's get on the ground first, mate. And as if, like you said, all I know is I think if I break the jaw, it's over. So I just have target practice. So, and Bruce Lee said, I fear the man that doesn't train 100 exercises once. It's the one exercise 100 times. So I'm with you. It's jab, hit, jab, hit. Now, before I go over the body, I want to know, how do you feel that you're well known? Does that put pressure on you, being the glute guy? Like, how do you feel about, because Brett, no one's done it, meaning since you, no one's put together something that's so influential, even whether they think you did it or not. It does not matter. We all know the truth here. But before you, there was probably a lot of industrial, whatever movement in the gym, technology coming in, machines changing. But the glute exercise, you doing what you did, how do you feel that the Australians know you, the world knows you? How do you feel about that?
So it's so awesome being kind of like a Insta famous, because
no, you're bigger than that. You're Insta famous, but you were there before.
A big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
So the reason why that's so cool is it's just the right amount of popularity. If you were a celebrity, like I've heard celebrities say, it's kind of a living hell.
Yep.
You go outside, it's just, you get mobbed. It's not fun. You have to live life in seclusion because you can't just go to the store. Well, I can.
Okay.
It's just the right amount of popularity to where if I'm dating a girl or if I'm with my family and we go somewhere, there will be one person that recognizes me. And they're like, oh my God, Brett Contreras, I'm such a huge fan. Oh my God, and then I play it off and I love it. I eat it up and I'm like talking to them and then they leave. And then the person with me is like, that's a normal occurrence? And yeah. I feel like it makes me look so cool.
Yeah.
I love it. And I remember having this girl, Natalia Melo. She was actually the 2010 Bikini Olympia champion. And she was at one of my seminars and someone came up and she goes, don't you hate this? Doesn't it drive you crazy? I go, no. I wanted to be popular my whole life. I eat it up. I love going to fitness conferences because I get stopped all the time. That's my world to shine, but it's just, like I said, it's just the right amount. I can, 8 times a year, I can go somewhere to a convention of fitness, like a strength and conditioning, and I feel like a little celebrity. And then the whole rest of the time, I have anonymity. I could go to the grocery store. No one, people are going to know who I am. Maybe if I go to the airport, one person recognizes me. It's just the right amount. I love it.
Well, if you come to Australia, you can always come and stay with me. I'm letting you know.
Okay.
I live near the coast myself and near the city. And, yeah, I'd love to host you. And, yeah, come. Like I said, like I said, everyone speaks about you, especially in the industry and the female industry. And I'll let you know, a lot of guys do hip thrust here. Besides what we spoke about, everybody
around the world, because the plate loaded devices.
Yeah,
it's not so difficult to set up. It's not as cumbersome, and it's becoming mainstream.
Big time. And judging now involves the glutes. A lot of guys are winning it from the back. So there is, like I said, don't worry about this. When I say here you are on this biggest podcast in Australia, I tell you now, we'll probably be the number one Tonight Show type podcast in bodybuilding, because we don't do gym bros, we just do everybody. But what I'm saying to you is, every guest I've had, and I had over 100 guests, predominantly even the males and females, the hip thrust is the number one glute machine. And trust me, it's not sitting there trying to question them. Sure, we had a bit of fun with it, but how far can you go? And I don't need a podcast to be built around the glute. I'll leave that with you. But, I just realized I got some questions and answers quickly. Just quickly, Maria Grisagoscu said, how to increase grip strength?
So I had the weakest grip. I had to use wrist wraps with everything. And I never thought I could one day, for example, max deadlift without wrist straps. But I did a powerlifting competition, so I had to bring up my grip. And first of all, I will say chalk and a knurled bar. Like, I pulled 605 for 5 without, wrist straps. My grip is now a strength. If you have, with a smooth barbell that's not knurled and no chalk, I could probably hold on to 405 pounds for 5 reps.
Yep.
You add a very knurled bar, a newer bar that has the deep cuts.
So a deep cut bar, yep.
That'll add 100 pounds to my grip. And then chalk adds another 100 pounds. And now I can do 605 for 5. So if it's pertaining to deadlifts, the bar and the chalk situation can solve a lot. Same with, obviously, going mixed grip probably adds 100 pounds too compared to double overhand. But you can strengthen your grip, meaning I didn't think those grippers from Iron Mind would work. They do. You don't want to do too much, like you're already doing deadlifts and stuff. You don't want to do farmers walks. Women don't want to build their traps. So you could hold on to heavy dumbbells and walk around with them, but instead just hang, static hangs. And when 2 arms becomes easy, do one arm, but hold on to the rack with the other hand. So single arm hangs, the grippers, and even just training your forearms in general. I didn't think doing wrist curls, wrist extension, wrist roller, they help. It all helps. So you just train your forearms hard for like 2 months, and now it's a strength. And then you will retain that forearm strength from just using dumbbells, doing deadlifts, doing back exercise, doing chin-ups and rows, and then like walking lunges. Like, then you don't have to train it that often. You might have to train grip a couple times a year to bring it back up because you've been neglecting it, but you bring it up and then you maintain it through your normal training. So I never thought I could bring my grip up, and I did, and everything transfers. It all helps.
Okay. Next question from Aussie Jung Doll. If these questions are stupid, I'm stupid, but I don't know what. Like I said, who knows? Could be trolls. But anyway, well, let's laugh at this. If it is, she said, what's the best way to progress? Booty by Bret or personalized programming?
Okay, so they're asking like questions about my businesses.
Yeah.
Did they buy a personalized program or just join Booty by Bret? And I just say, try Booty by Bret first. It's only $30 a month. You might love Booty, but obviously you could probably see better results if I were to write a custom program for you. But here's the deal. With Booty by Bret, I've got a Facebook page with 20,000 like-minded people. You take advantage of the Facebook page, and that's going to be amazing. That's so valuable.
Yeah.
So use the community and join Booty by Bret.
All right.
In my opinion.
Community, got it. This is to do with your gym, which I'm starting to understand it now. Can non-influencers become members of your Glute Lab gym in Fort Lauderdale?
So it makes sense to you because I told you it's not a public gym. I took.
You know how to work it.
I took 30 people right away. And then people are like, oh, you have to be an influencer. Some of my girls have 3,000 followers. You don't have to be.
Okay. So what is it? So this person believes they're influencers. Is that what you're saying?
People think that he only lets influencers come. But no, I got to a point where I had enough people. And then my girls start saying, Brett, enough. No more girls. It's getting packed in here. I hate it.
So you're full.
I quit taking on people. But every once in a while, I'm like.
So check for the vacancy sign.
Yeah, check for vacancy.
Check for vacancy, because check for vacancy sign. Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, we're running low. People coming, I'll take a couple more.
It's like the motel, when you drive past and it says no vacancies.
Yeah.
Nick the Magnificus, whatever, I don't know what it is. How much is really too much volume per week for glutes?
So they used to say 10 sets a week for a muscle is ideal. And I'm saying, no, you can do 36 sets per week for glutes. And the guys thought I was crazy back then. But now more research has come out showing these really high volume protocols just lead to more and more growth. But those studies are flawed. Well, not flawed. They have weaknesses in that, yeah, you can take someone, push them for, 2-3 months, and with a lot of volume and progress, but they're not training every muscle with that much volume, and they're not training that way year round. So I think that plays a case for specialization cycles, hitting a muscle really hard for a couple months with a lot of volume, up to like 45 sets a week. You can recover, you can do it, but everyone's different. I get sore. I can't handle as much volume. I never could. So I do lower volume. Some of my clients do lower volume. And the reason why people are getting, in my opinion, people are getting away with so much volume is because they don't push it hard. They don't have a logbook. They don't keep track of their workouts. They're not going for PRs. They're not utilizing progressive overload. And when you do that, when you're training balls out, what you'll notice is kind of like 10 sets in a workout is good. Do that 3 times a week. That's around 30 sets. Glute Guy Bret has 36 sets a week. Some of my girls do 45 sets a week, 15 sets 3 times a week. But you got to a lot of that needs to be kickbacks and abduction and stuff. You can't do 45 sets of squat lunges, like walking barbell lunges, squats to failure, and deadlifts to failure. You crush yourself. So it's got to be a good blend. The rule of thirds, I have a YouTube video on it. I would say my favorite is just 36 sets a week, but using the rule of thirds. Google rule of thirds, Brett Contreras. If you don't know what that means, you'll find my YouTube video.
Thirds.
Yeah.
YouTube. Because I'm going to answer them for us, just to let you know. So I'll CC you in the answering on the online. See, I just wrote 36 sets. Choose volume. Choose volume by what you feel. Push your PB. Progressive overload. Push hard. Variety. A blend of exercises. 36 sets. Rule of thirds.
You want to blend the vectors: horizontal, vertical, and lateral.
Blend of what? Blend of vectors.
Yeah, because when you do abduction, it's lateral. When you do, and then hip thrusts are horizontal load coming this way at you. That means you work the squeeze, not the stretch. Working the stretch is harder on the body. So, yeah.
Okay. Weighted, I don't know, I apologize, Honey Mia 615. Are weighted clamshells an effective glute workout? What's that?
Well, sideline clamshells, you lay on your side and you kind of open up your hips, so you could put a weight plate on those. I'm not a fan, but we do glute medius. I call them glute medius hip thrusts because I think they're the hip thrust for the glute medius. I made a YouTube video on that. You can Google it, but that, dude, learn those. Yeah. Learn glute medius hip thrusts instead. Those are amazing. And they just involve a weight plate. You can do them anywhere.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Let's go quickly over the body. I want to know just an exercise, sets and reps. We'll go through it quickly. Traps.
So this is heavily debated. I still say shrugs. I'm team shrugs, but some of my colleagues say shrugs don't work your traps.
No, I'm team shrugs.
Based on moment arm data from the 70s and some EMG data, but okay, then what else is going to maximize your traps? But I think you should try to kind of pull inwards and kind of try to you can do them a certain way to work them even more. But yeah, I'm still team shrugs. I like higher reps with shrugs, like 3 sets of 20.
Okay, 3 sets of 20. Let's go with the delts, side delts.
Well, a new study was just published. I've been saying, don't hate on the dumbbell lateral. Everyone's saying do cable laterals because they work you more in the stretch. Cable laterals set at hand height. And a recent study showed they led to equal side delt growth. But I think cable laterals don't beat you up as much. So if they build muscle the same, do cable lateral raises. I like a little bit higher reps on those. 3 sets of 12 to 15.
Okay. Rear delts.
Rear delts, my favorite exercise, is an exercise I haven't seen other people do. Basically, you set up in the like cable crossover or dual trainer, like functional trainer, and you got to spread them apart far. You grab a handle here and a handle here.
Ah, yes, I know this one.
And it's working you in the stretch, and you just come down to here. I call it a cable rear delt row.
Yep.
So you come up and you just come to here, and I put them up high above me, and I just kind of go like this.
Yep.
I have a video that I just took on my phone. My rear delts get so pumped. They have grown in the last year.
Mm.
It's not easy being 48 and having a muscle grow.
Mm.
3 sets of 25.
3 sets of what?
25 reps. High reps on them.
Hey, it's not easy, but it's possible. But you've got to be the 1%ers to keep doing progressive overload and finding ways. You've got to feel it more. You've got to really hone in. What about front delts?
I like dumbbell, like old school dumbbell front raises going up a little bit higher than parallel.
Yeah.
Don't just stop here, go a little higher. Those I still think are the best. But I will say if you do cable in the stretch, like kind of trying to get cable working back here, you feel it in your bicep a ton too. That doubles down and works. My biceps get sore when I do cable front raises where I try and make it kind of perpendicular to the body. And yeah, I like those too, but
3 sets of 15?
3 sets of 12 to 15.
Yep. Okay. Lats, your back.
So I just think the chin up, the reason why I like the chin up supinated, it stretches your lat. You get a better stretch, but when it's a pull up, where do you come up all the way? The chin up has a standardized ROM. You start from a dead hang, you touch your chest to the bar. And that way, when you get stronger, you know that when you use progressive overload, you know that you should have a little bit bigger lats.
How many sets, reps?
So that's like a lot of times I give 3 by AMRAP. So women, you train people, you got to get them to do their first chin up, which means band assisted chin ups and negatives. What's nice when you're a trainer, you can help them and do an assisted concentric, and they can do the eccentric on their own.
100%.
But you got to get them there. Then it's getting enough body weight reps, and then eventually you add load. But if you had to do a set rep screen, maybe 3 sets of 6. I like heavier for those.
Okay. Abs?
So I would probably say just like the chin up, when I did all my EMG experience, the chin up had the highest abdominal EMG. Chin ups.
Wow.
I didn't believe it. I retested it because when you're doing a chin up, your body wants to be an anterior pelvic tilt with a spine extended, and then you're flexing down. So, especially for the low abs, but you don't use progressive overload and you don't trade it through a full range of motion. So, I think doing stability ball crunches where you, or like the ab mat, where you get a big stretch and come up all the way, and then you also try to tilt your pelvis posteriorly at the same time. So it's like a double crunch. So you're trying to crunch the thoracic and, thoracic flexion combined with posterior pelvic tilt. And then when you do them nice and controlled, do it 3 sets of 20 is really hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
Nice and controlled through a full stretch.
No, that's tough. Chest?
I hate to say because there's been this big debate about training the lengthen position. So for that reason, flies would be good, but I never did so many flies that I noticed. I bet you could probably get a huge chest doing a ton of flies, but we like to bench. Men like to bench. So I think for people would say dumbbells because you can get more range, you can stretch more. But the thing is, I'm a wide gripper. So when I do dumbbells, I can't go out wide like that. I have to. So then it's almost like works my tricep. I come up to here and then it's like close grip. So I love dumbbells and I love incline. I think maybe theoretically the best might be dumbbell low incline, but
are you pointing towards barbells?
I like straight up bench press.
I was going to say, are you pointing towards barbell?
Yeah.
I thought so.
I love barbells because like with the chin up, when you can't do a chin up, it's embarrassing. You try harder. So with women especially, a lot of them do pull downs. They always have it on 70 pounds. And I'm like, why didn't you go up? What do you weigh? I weigh 120. Then why aren't you doing, you can do a chin up. How many chin ups can you do? I can do one. Then you should, you could use heavier. And then I make them go heavier and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know I could do that. When it's chin ups, it's embarrassing. You fight harder at it, you get better results. With bench press, guys care about their bench, but then try to bench in a way where you fill your pecs. Try to go a little wider, lower a little higher. And I love the bench, but
how many sets and reps?
3 sets of 8.
But didn't you see in the 80s and the 90s how big were guys' chests, and they were doing barbell bench press, mate. So let me tell you, they had big chests, and they would do just flies, cable flies, and bench pressing and incline barbell as well. There was a lot of barbells, not many dumbbell going on. They had huge chests, man. I don't know. What about bicep?
Biceps, I like preacher curls. 3 sets of 12.
Okay. Tricep?
So I like a lot. I like close grip bench. I like this, but I think would say, JM presses.
JM?
A JM press was popularized in the powerlifting community. It's like if the close grip bench and the skull crusher had a child.
Okay.
So you basically, you come down, you let the elbows come down a little bit, you lower it to your neck.
Ah, yes.
So it's like this, and it's
JDMs. JDM?
JM stands for JM. God, it's a power lifter. I looked him up. I even watched him explain how to do it. He's a legend. I don't know why I can't think of his JM. Anyway, but he came up with a movement. Westside used it. When I started doing that, I started getting, people were all telling me, holy shit, you got triceps. Where'd those come from? I need to start doing them again. They've gotten smaller. But yeah, JM presses are the real deal. But women, it's really hard. It hurts their elbows. I start them on the Smith machine. If they don't like it, then I would just say theoretically, the overhead is going to work the long hip better, get stretched more, but I think just do your favorite tricep extension.
Sets and reps?
Full range of motion. 3 sets of 15.
All right. What about forearms?
So forearms, for hypertrophy, I just still think it's the wrist
That's what
flexion.
I did that
wrist
last night.
extension. Yeah. And then wrist extension for the other side, and you're covered.
You're covered. I think I just do go to failure, maybe 2 sets of failure.
2 sets of like 20-ish or 30, yeah.
Yeah, just failure. Quads.
So this requires, you have to have 2 exercises, because for the vasties, it would be probably hack squats.
Yep.
But for the rectus femoris, it's leg extensions. Leg extensions work even better when you're leaning back.
100%.
So it puts the rec fem on stretch. And it probably works better if you have the tension in the stretch position. So if you have one of those, if you could make it hard at the bottom, it's even better. But you can't build both with one exercise. It has to be 2.
Sets and reps.
For the hack squats, I like lower reps, like 3 sets of 6 to 8, because when you do high reps, they just kill you.
Yeah.
With leg extension, like higher reps, like 3 sets of 20.
Okay. Hammies.
I think I always love stiff legs, but I'd say in the research, the leg curls and like Nordics and leg curls grow a little bit better. So I think the seated leg curl, but try to be upright. Don't lean back.
Okay.
Don't scoot your butt forward. You need to get that stretch at the top. Come up all the way and make sure it's really taking you to the full range of your flexibility.
Sets and reps.
3 sets of 12.
Calves.
Calves, research has shown that you don't really have to use full range. The top doesn't seem to help much.
No,
so,
I heard it's down the bottom eccentric.
But you can do like standing calf raises, but don't stop when so you can do full range, but then just keep going with lengthened partials. Keep going. You might be able to get 5 more reps just doing the bottom portion and do that.
Sets and reps.
3 by 20. 3 by 20.
3 by 20. Tibialis.
I think how many exercises? Just kind of like that machine that what is it called?
I don't know. I'm just trying to sound technical, by the way.
It's a machine that it's a little boot looking thing, and then you put your foot in and you just do tibialis raises.
I'll tell you how I do tibialis raises without it. I usually put a 20 like even a 50 kilo dumbbell. I don't know kilo pounds, but I just put it on my foot and I just raise my foot off the ground.
Yep.
And that hits the tibialis. Last one, glutes, and should guys do hip thrust?
With glutes, I'd say the hip thrust, because people might say the lunge or the RDL, but you can get hurt on those. Hip thrusts are safer and they're easy. Everyone can learn the hip thrust. Every body type can hip thrust, and women care about bench. Hip thrusts are the bench press for women. Women care about what they hip thrust, like guys care about what they bench. So I always tell women, get to a 315 pound for 20 rep hip thrust and you'll like your glutes. 315 for 20 is brutal, but you can get there. Everyone can get there in time through a full range of motion, getting full lockout, controlling the weight. It's brutal, but it can be done. Whereas if you give people a goal with squats and deadlifts, not everyone can get there. You have such crazy different body types and people who can tolerate them and who can't. That's advice I can have for people. Hip thrust 315 for 20. So that's 145 kgs for 20 reps. And yes, men should definitely be thrusting, because women love nice glutes and men like nice glutes. You might not know that, but it's kind of nice to look better in your jeans.
100%.
Lee Priest. If Lee Priest did hip thrust for like 6 months and got strong at them and noticed his glutes looking better in jeans, You start getting compliments. He thinks he doesn't care. He probably would. But it also helps your lower body, your compound lifts feel better. Squats feel better. Deadlifts start feeling better. You have a bigger muscle. The brain senses it. The central nervous system says, that's a bigger muscle, has better leverage, has more force production. I'm going to activate it more. And you will use it more when you perform lower body lifts. It distributes the force better. And you'll notice, lifts feeling better. You have more longevity with these exercises because you're not using all quads to squat and then trashing your knees, or using all it protects your body.
Well, I found, because I'm learning about the hip thrust myself, I've learned to study it right now, meaning doing the right movements. I don't jump on big weight just to ego lift, because I just kind of learning the movement and feeling it and knowing to touch on the right point.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm enjoying it, but learning, let's not be a hero here just because I haven't done it much, and let's not go ego. Let's learn to do it right, like getting down low and lifting up and not engaging the quads, but letting the glute hit in. So I'm really kind of putting muscle to memory to muscle, like mind to muscle connection. And for me, it's learning how to use it right now. So probably I've been doing it now for 6 months, or maybe a little bit less, but because the gym I go to, Metroflex, has a hip thrust machine where I've never been to a hip thrust place. I did do it off the bench, and I did do it at my other gym, but I didn't know what it was called. I just did it because I watched some guys do it, but because I learned about it because of the podcast and hearing people, that's what I've done. But Brett, let's promote. Where can they find you?
I mean, I'm back to YouTube, filming YouTube videos. I'm on Instagram. I have a newsletter. I never spam people. I need to send it out more, but that can all be accessed from my profile on Instagram. And if you can't remember Brett Contreras, just type in the Glute Guy. I come up.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Brett, what a great podcast. And thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
3 hours.
I know. But I mean, towards the end, it kind of got us. And I think, but better to cover everything and get it done and dusted, meaning a good podcast. You're going to love it. I promise you. Yep. Chris is going to do some amazing editing. We're going to double down on you. So not only are we going to double down, we're going to put some images up there. We're going to make it look really beautiful. We're going to make it look amazing. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much. This was great. I appreciate you. Yeah, send it my way. I will share it with my newsletter. I got 185,000 subscribers. I'll put it out on my story on Instagram, and whoever shares it and tags me, I'll share that too. And we'll collab on a couple posts too if they're
100%.
As long as you're not trying to get me canceled.
Well, no, but I might do a little box shot of you underneath, and I might try to critique you a little bit. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.